What is going on, good people? Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Show Live. I'm your man Smitty. We're talking about NFL news. We're talking about NFL draft talk. And then we're kicking off some injury topics and debates and who is really injury prone heading into 2021. We're going to talk Nick Chubb. We'll talk about Derrick Henry. We'll talk about a lot of guys I'm concerned about. If you're watching over from IG, get on over to the fantasyfootballshow.com. That is where you will find the interactive version of what you see before your eyes right now on IG. But let's break down a lot of the news and get into a lot of the stuff going on around the NFL. And then we'll get into some questions and comments. Maybe mix that in throughout the entire first hour here. But let's kick it off with Trey Lance. ESPN Todd McShay reporting that many in the 49er personnel department want to take North Dakota State QB Trey Lance with the third pick in this week's NFL draft, which is T-minus two days away. I can't wait. I know you're excited. IG, I know you're excited. Look, I've been saying for months now, media is my proof that I believe. Where's my other music? Let's go with the good stuff. I've been saying I feel in a groove now. When that music hits, I know what to do. Media, you know, bro. I've been pumping the Trey Lance content out like crazy. Trey Lance is the best fit for this 49er offense. Best fit for Shanahan. Shanahan can't screw up again. Shanahan has gotten this wrong several times. Mahomes, Watson, who knows what else. Who knows what offer you guys didn't make to get Stafford. Quarterbacks have been a problem. And yes, you've gone to a Super Bowl with Jimmy G. It's worked out fairly well, but you want to win a Super Bowl, right? You need to have the right guy in place. And if you miss on this, if you take Mac Jones, in my opinion, you miss on this. And a lot of the fans believe the same thing. I would probably say, and yes, I'll be live during the entire first round, maybe more, of the 2021 NFL Draft. I'll probably be live both days, Friday and Saturday. And probably Sunday too. I'm live pretty much every day, but I'll be live. You better be here joining me on Smitty1.com, on the fantasyfootballshow.com. Yes, sir, Vlad. This is my IG people over here. If you, in a few minutes, I'll leave you guys live here for a while, but definitely get on over to the fantasyfootballshow.com. I've been saying for a while, Vlad knows this over on IG. Media knows it over here on YouTube. Trey Lance is my pick. Trey Lance is my pick because I believe Shanahan knows that he's got to choose something different. He's got to go down a different path. He can't keep rinsing and repeating and putting in. That's how you get Jimmy G. You play it safe, you end up with the Jimmy G. You go after a Kirk Cousins instead of an elite quarterback. You target laser lock on Kirk Cousins, and that QB type, you end up with Jimmy G. So if you want to end up with another Jimmy G, my advice, Shanahan, is to go after Mac Jones. You will probably get another version of Jimmy G, and that might make you happy. But your fans don't want it. 10% of your fans don't want it. The press conference was very odd. Okay, very odd. Very tough to dissect because how much smoke is coming off Shanahan and Lynch when they're saying, things like, what did Shanahan say when a reporter asked, will Jimmy G be on the roster, on draft day or if he said after draft day or on draft day, and he said, I don't know, who will even be alive like on this earth, paraphrasing, like he's walking into, the end of times or the end of days or something, like who's going to get raptured from the earth. Jimmy G could get raptured. He could get I've said this before, get abducted by aliens. Yeah. I mean, what in the hell are we talking about here? Like, and it's tough to know, like when you say, hey, how do you like Mac Jones? And Shanahan goes, I like Mac Jones, but I also like the other four quarterbacks. I like all five quarterbacks. I tried to read into that with my psychology degree and background. I tried to pinpoint what's going on. And my initial reaction was, if I have a number written down on a piece of paper right here, and I did this with my boy Dr. Raj on the Quad Box on Friday. If I've got a number, I'm writing down the number 1, the number 2, or the number 3, okay? And let's say I write down the number 2, and then I tell you, you tell me, hey, do you like the number 2? The first reaction I'm gonna have is to go somewhere else. So if it was 2, I'd be like, I like 1, I like 3, I like 2. I'm not gonna say 2 out of my mouth because I'm gonna be worried about telling. I'm gonna be trying to go around and do a diversion. So I kind of think like if you say, hey, do you like Mac Jones, and Mac Jones was your pick, you probably wouldn't go, I love Mac Jones. I also love all 4 of the other quarterbacks. I personally think, if you're asking my psychological breakdown of this, that if it was Mac Jones, and you said, hey, do you like Mac Jones? You probably would have went away from Jones right away and circled back to him. You know what I mean? He would have been like, hey, do you like Mac Jones? And he would have been, if it's Mac, he'd been like, I like Trey Lance. I like, Lawrence. We like Mac Jones. I don't think he would have said, I like Mac Jones. I'm pretty sure. Like if I could dissect anything that happened, I feel like I'm potentially right on that one. I believe it's Trey Lance. I believe Shanahan knows that this is his final move. It could be a move that sets up a decade more of coaching and domination, or it could send him down a path of being ousted. Like, bottom line, like he screws this up and royally screws it up. And I wouldn't be surprised if Shanny was gone, in a year. Now, whoever gets taken, Fields, Mac Jones, Lance, probably will do okay. I don't know that any one of those guys will bust out of the NFL quickly. So no matter what, I do believe that things will stay afloat for a good year and a half. But if for whatever reason Mac Jones is the pick and he busts out, yeah, Shanahan would be on borrowed time at that point. But I do feel it's going to be Trey Lance. I'm pretty good when it comes to predicting some of this quarterback stuff. It's been in my wheelhouse. I've been doing this 19 years professionally. Okay, I'm not out here I started a year ago. This is what I do. I'm an expert, like everybody on Twitter or in Instagram that started this year and they put in their bio, #1 advice giver in fantasy football for the past year. I've been doing this a while. I've been scouting a while. I consider myself a pretty solid scout because for 19 years, I've been scouting the NFL draft. For 19 years, I've been on CBS Sports Radio talking about a lot of this stuff, and especially the quarterback predictions. And I do feel I can't predict what Shanahan will do. That part no one can do. No one knows. But I can tell you with certainty that Lance fits better now than the other 2 quarterbacks. In my mind. And I say that for a couple reasons. One, I don't think he's a project. Everybody keeps saying project. He takes a year. If you even after I tell you how I feel, someone in the comments says something as if they didn't listen to a word I say, and they go, yeah, okay, that's a good point, yeah. But if you do draft Lance, you got to sit him for a year. You don't have to sit him for a year. Who says you have to sit him for a year? Why do you sit Lance for a year, but you don't sit Fields for a year? That makes no sense to me. It's not that much bigger of a resume. I don't care about small school. What about Palmer? What about Randy Moss? What about all the other wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks that played at small schools? I'm not worried about small school implications here. Like everyone talking about that he's a project, I don't get it. When you watch his film, when you look at his decision making, when you look at how the guy had 28 passing touchdowns and 0 INTs in his last year played, at 19 years old, 14 rushing touchdowns and over, I believe, 1,100 yards on the ground. That tells me he's a pretty good decision maker. I don't think he picks up and runs too much. I really like Lance, and I feel like Lance gives you a weapon right out of the box that you can utilize, even if he's not starting. Hear me out. If you take Trey Lance, you can Taysom Hill this man on the field in week 1. You can use Trey Lance under center, at tight end like Trevor Lawrence or like a Taysom Hill. I'm not saying that the Niners ultimately want to use him like Taysom Hill. Don't twist up what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you start Jimmy G week 1, which I don't want to do, I want to trade Jimmy G, and I predicted this from the beginning too. Jimmy G, where's my music, is on his way out. Whether a deal doesn't end up getting done in the 11th hour, that I can't control. Teams not giving up enough, that I can't control. Denver or New England getting out of a situation of needing a quarterback, and then now there's no really good deal to make. That's out of my control. I've said before, something crazy could happen on draft day that no one's thinking about, like trading the Niner 43 pick down to the 20 pick, the Chicago Bear pick, 43 to 20. Niners get back into the first round. We've been talking about that a lot, Vlad, and media in the quad box, haven't we? But this is a crazy dynamic way to make a trade. Move 43 down to 20, give Jimmy G to the Chicago Bears. That's the move. That's the move. Give Adam Rank a dang quarterback over in Chicago. I don't understand why it's that hard to move. Like, you can move Jimmy G for a conditional pick. I don't agree that you can start or win more games with Jimmy G under center in the new environment that you're setting up. Had you not gone and traded up for the number 3 pick, and maybe Mac Jones fell to the number 12. Tell me if I'm wrong on this, 49er faithful in the IG chat, because I know I got a lot of you in the IG chat right here. If you stayed at 12, and let's say Mac Jones fell, you wouldn't have as big of a situation on your hands in the locker room, a divide, all of those things. Am I right? No, you wouldn't, because he fell into our lap. It's a protective move. We took him. But here's the difference. You traded up to number 3 to get this quarterback. Jimmy G does not want to be on this roster when he knows that you're replacing him, whether it's mid-season or if he gets banged up at all and the player comes in and replaces him. You're not taking that rookie out. If Jimmy G misses any time at all, job security gone. That's different if you go on another team like the Bears, for example, and you're starting and you get hurt for 2 weeks. You come back, the job's yours. If he gets hurt at all and misses time at all, the rookie gets plugged in and you can't take him out. Confidence would be shot. Jimmy G knows this. Jimmy G wants out. Jimmy G isn't going to exercise his no trade clause as easily as you would think, because he needs to get into a starting job. He would go to Chicago, and I believe Chicago would probably be okay with a conditional pick too. Like, hey, give us a second rounder that can be conditionally a first rounder if Jimmy G wins X number of games. If Jimmy G plays 4 straight games in a row, you get a conditional first round pick, or even a third round pick turns conditionally first rounder. You can make this as creative as you want. And if Jimmy G performs, and if a team's trading for him, they clearly want him to perform. What's up, Castillo? They clearly want him to perform. And I think that the Niners would be set up pretty nicely. But I don't think that in the current environment where you traded up to the number 3 pick, you didn't just wait at 12 and, Mac Jones fell, we'll take him. You traded up to get this quarterback. You are putting Jimmy G in an environment that it's a lose-lose for him. He's not motivated. He knows he's going to get replaced. He knows that the moment he gets hurt and replaced, or replaced just because he has 2 bad games in a row because his mind's all screwed up because he's got this number 3 overall pick sitting there staring at him in the face. And again, you can use Trey Lance on the field at the same time as Jimmy G, which is why I think they want to go with Trey Lance. You can put Trey Lance on the field at the same time, or put him in at goal line situations, put him in the red zone, get his feet wet, get him ready. The running ability this guy provides you is the other 2 quarterbacks, Fields and Mac Jones, cannot provide you. I know Fields can run. I know Fields is elusive, but there's a difference between being elusive like a Russell Wilson and being a Cam Newton designed running quarterback or Lamar Jackson. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to say this phrase, like Shanahan said, where he said we want a quarterback that could throw like Drew Brees and run like Lamar, I don't know. You could argue that that's Fields. You could. But when you talk about designed runs, and I think of Trey Lance. And so if you're going to try and pull anything out of that press conference, I'm going to say don't hold on to too much of anything, because, again, if I'm taking this bottle of water or this remote control or this electrical tape, okay? Now, somebody in the chat grill me. Someone in the IG chat grill me. I'm going to pick one of these in my mind, okay? And you ask me about one of them. And let's see who can predict who I'm choosing. Okay, I've made my selection. Somebody in the IG chat ask me about it. Try and pry from me which one I chose. I've chose one. So go. Ask me a question. I want to know. Or in the YouTube chat. I chose one of these. I'm not telling you. Electrical tape, remote, or water bottle. Saucy says water bottle. Game says water bottle. I mean, I could have chose the remote. I like the remote. I like the tape, and I like the water bottle. Somebody else asked me a question. The point is, I chose the water bottle. The first thing out of my mouth wasn't, I like the water bottle. It was, no, I mean, I like the remote. I like the tape. I like the water bottle. If you take anything from that press conference, when that reporter asked, do you like Mac Jones? He didn't say anything off to the side. He went right at it, and I don't think you would do that if you were choosing Mac Jones. How do you like Mac Jones? He said, I like Mac Jones. I also like the other 4 quarterbacks. I don't believe your mind goes there. If that was your choice, you immediately run around it and go to the other options, then circle back and try and confuse him. I don't think you head right at the question. But that's me. I do have a psych degree. Okay? I feel like I have a little bit of ability to read people. And if I took anything away from it, it wasn't. If Mac Jones is the water bottle, it's not. If Trey Lance is the electrical tape, this utility of a man that can run downfield, circle around, throw the football, catch the football through the legs. This electrical tape is Trey Lance, and he sits above the rest. Trey Lance is better than the electrical tape. Trey Lance is taller than the electrical tape. Well, he's not yet. All for the show, right? Trey Lance is taller than the electrical tape. Okay? It's Trey Lance. It's not Mac Jones. It better not be Mac Jones. It better not be Mac Jones. That's what I got to say about that. Moving on to the next piece of news. Let's see if there's a... Let's go to more rookie stuff. Najee Harris, man. Najee Harris. Steelers general manager... Again, noise. People are going to create noise, create smoke screens, everything. Dismissed the notion that first round running backs are a risky proposition. I've talked about this till I've been blue in the face. I don't care. Where's my little pointer finger to let you know where I'm at in the hour? Sorry. Let me drop that right there. Okay, so we're on the news section. Hour 1 will be NFL news. Hour 2 will be NFL draft talk. Hour 3 will be injuries. We're on hour 1. Obviously, we just started, right? Hit the thumbs up on your way in the door. 40 to 60 people in here. And you give me 12 wiping of the feet. Wipe your feet at the front door. And IG, I want you to come over to the fantasyfootballshow.com, the YouTube portion of the show at some point. I don't mind you here. You're fine. I'm going to keep you live. It's okay. I just want you to know where you can find the interactive part of the show. The screen, the news, things you can view. I don't mind you over here. I'm just letting you know for 3 straight hours we're on YouTube and you're fine where you're at. Najee Harris, ETN, Javonte Williams. In my opinion, all 3 of them have first round value. Maybe not high first round, I get it. But I don't prescribe to the, well, according to the past and according to people say, Smitty, that running backs don't go in the first round anymore, Smitty. They don't do it. They just don't do it. Why? Because somebody in the past did it? Because somebody else didn't take a running back? It doesn't matter. Everything is case by case. Clyde Edwards-Helaire went in the last pick in the first round last year when many people didn't expect that to happen. All it takes is one team, one coach, the right position in the draft for a team of need that needs a running back that says, hey, you know what? Najee Harris is the number 1 player on our board. And Najee Harris, although I do like ETN a little bit better, I do like Javonte Williams a little bit better. Najee Harris is the one running back out of all the running backs that probably is the most likely to find a 3 down or even 4 down role in the NFL because teams feel he's that. And perception is reality. And perception lands you in a good spot. ETN, I could see going probably to a great location. But is there more of a chance that he falls in a situation where, you know, they don't throw enough and ETN is one of those, I don't want to say Kamara type backs because I feel like he can run between the tackles just as well as any of these running backs, but he's coined a hybrid or receiving first type back, which he technically, could be. He's that good at catching the football. ETN's the best catching running back, the best receiving back in this draft class. So Buffalo would be a great landing spot for ETN. Miami, the New York Jets would be great for ETN. Pittsburgh, I don't know if I like that because if Ben Roethlisberger retires or gets hurt or decides to go hiking and never come back, maybe Shanahan's right. Maybe he won't return. Maybe Big Ben will be one of the people raptured from the earth like Shanahan's predicting. Then what? Najee Harris makes his living between the tackles. Yes, he can pull in passes. Yes, he could be pretty darn good. How to get to the show? You go to smitty1.com. Yes, Najee Harris. Dang it. Hold on. Smitty1.com. Let me pin it down below. There you go. Yes, ETN can pull in passes. Yes, ETN could probably survive somewhere. I think he could become a better wide receiver, and he already is considered a pretty decent one. Zeke Elliott was not a good wide receiver, everyone said. He won't catch passes in the NFL, Smitty. Yeah, Zeke did okay. Don't judge a book by its cover, because sometimes teams put covers on these books that don't tell the whole story about their skill set. But I will say, you put a receiving geared back like ETN that can also run between the tackles, do a little Kamara thing, big receiving stats. Pretty decent rushing stats. Maybe some years he runs for 1,200 yards. Maybe some years it's 900 or 800. But he could get you that 600 to 800 receiving and 10 total touchdowns, 60 to 70 receptions. That's ETN. Okay? I don't like my ETN. I don't know how you guys like your ETN. But I like my ETN served in a Miami offense. Or maybe a New York Jet offense, maybe a Buffalo Bill offense where they could throw to the running back and, hey, if Josh Allen's going to vulture some rushing touchdowns, ETN's going to be fine because guess what? 60, 70 receptions could be in the cards. And make no mistake, just because Buffalo hasn't used their running back the way that you feel they should have used Moss, or I feel they should have used Zach Moss or Singletary, doesn't mean they wouldn't do something different if they drafted a high draft capital running back like ETN or Javonte Williams. So perfect landing spots for Javonte Williams. I love him. in Buffalo. I love him in Pittsburgh. Javonte Williams can go anywhere. He could go to Pittsburgh and grind it out between the tackles. He could go to Miami or New York and Buffalo and be a mix of run and pass catching. He could do it all. Javonte Williams is the one player that could go from rags, and I say rags, I mean 1.6 in rookie drafts. He could go from rags to the 1.1 to riches. He could go. We could exit round 1 on Thursday and be like, Javonte Williams wasn't drafted. Where do we rank him? He's not. He's still 6. He might even drop to 7, Smitty. He might have even dropped to 7. Then round 2 comes rolling along, and guess who gets drafted by Miami or New York or the Niners? Right, Niner faithful? What if you draft Javonte Williams at 43 and he has no business being there, but he falls? Now all of a sudden people are talking about Javonte Williams being the 1.1 or 1.2. So don't come out of round 1 thinking everything's set in stone, Smitty. You were wrong about Javonte Williams. Stars have been born in the second round before in fantasy football from the running back position, and I think you need to prepare for that because I believe Javonte Williams is actually the most well-rounded running back in this draft class. He smells a lot like who? Jonathan Taylor. That's who Javonte Williams smells like. And I feel like there's a really good shot he finds a really good home. You know, the Cardinals, I've said this before, I don't care what anybody tells Smitty, but they've got James Conner. Why would the Cardinals draft Najee? It just wouldn't happen, Smitty. I know these things. I haven't spoken to anyone, but I absolutely 100% factually know that Najee Harris would not be. Why would they do that, Smitty? Why? I'll tell you why. Because when you want to protect Kyler Murray, when you want Kyler Murray to progress and become the quarterback he can become, and he struggled here and there, let me tell you, I'm in Arizona, I think I know. Kyler Murray, here's the line. Kyler Murray, looking over that offensive line, decides to roll out of the pocket, okay? He rolls out of the pocket, and he's being chased. You know why? Because no one's scared about the running backs. No one's scared about Chase Edmonds knifing up the field. You want a Najee Harris running up the gut, confusing defenses, completely crushing them. And Najee Harris, I want to smash this in here, but I don't want to make a mess, but I would love to smash it in here. Najee Harris running up the middle, just completely dominating, and defenses having to re-examine how we approach this offense defensive scheme-wise. Where's my music? I got to loop that one. The Cardinals instantly reshape everything they're doing. Defenses completely reshape everything they're doing. Does Smitty not work? This is what do you think I'm doing for you, casual? Do I not work? I'm at work every Tuesday and Thursday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. here on the channel for you, casual. I'm live every single moment of almost every single day. I'm either on Locker Room or Clubhouse. Username on both is Fantasy Football. All one word, by the way, Clubhouse and Locker Room. Find me. I'm on IG Live like I am right now, and you ask me if I work? This is my job, casual. I've been here for 19 years. Do I come to your work and say, casual, while you're typing up the TPS report, do I say, casual, do you work? I might Gronk smash this right now. Where were we at? Najee Harris. I don't even know what I was talking about anymore. Casual threw me off track. I still appreciate you, casual. You know you're my boy, Blue, but I don't understand the question. Okay? Yes, I do this for a living. I know it's shocking to a lot of people. I've been here for a long time in this industry. What's up, Dumb? Okay. Najee Harris. Question at hand. God, I get sidetracked. Najee Harris. Could he go in the first round? Abso-freaking-lutely. What makes anybody think that a running back's not going in round one? At least one. Because of history? Because of... Schmitty, running backs don't go in round one. Don't you have a job? Don't you work? Oh, Casual. I love you, bro. Casual, you know you're my boy, Blue. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't mean to yell at everybody, but Najee Harris is going in round one. Whether it's to the Cardinals, whether it's going to the Miami Dolphins, whether it's going to the Jets, whether it's going to the Buffalo Bills, which I think they're going after Etienne or Javonte over Najee, but you never freaking know. And who's to say if you're a coach and you finally get a gift like Najee Harris, you don't change a few things. Maybe you look at last year and you say, you know, we got there, we got to the big game, but we need to do something different on the ground. One running back at least will go in round one. I predict 2. And if not 2, early in round 3, a lot of these teams at the top will draft one of the 2, Javonte Williams or Etienne, if not both. By pick 40, I think all 3 will be gone. And wide receivers are going to go like crazy. 5 quarterbacks will... maybe 6 quarterbacks will be gone by pick 32. 1 tight end. I doubt the Jordan will go, but you never know. So 1 tight end. Let's count. 5 quarterbacks. Let's make it 6. 1 tight end. Then we're going to go 1, 2, 3 running backs by pick 40. Okay, we're going to pick 40. So that's 10. 10 out of the top 40 are going to be the positions I just named. Wide receivers. By pick 40, maybe 7. So we're at 17. 17 out of 40 are going to be offensive skill positions. That's not including any defense. Does anybody understand what that means? That means when you look at mock drafts, hit the thumbs up on your way in the door. We got 50 in the room right now. 19 people have wiped their feet.
Take a lap. Take a lap.
If you really take a look at that and say 17 offensive skill position players are going, we've got to fit in X number of defensive players. Guess who falls? A lot of offensive linemen that shouldn't fall are going to fall. When you do a mock draft and you see Mayfield or Cosme or Leatherwood, really good offensive line prospects in this draft, and you see like a 26 by their name or 28 overall, guess what? The offensive linemen that are ranked like 25, 27, 28 are going to be there at 38, 37 for the Bengals' second round pick, which is why I say you have to go Ja'Marr Chase. You don't think about it. You don't worry about it. You execute. Ja'Marr Chase, welcome to the Bengals, baby. And that keeps Burrow upright. But Schmitty, how is Burrow going to stay upright if they don't have an offensive lineman? You have to protect Burrow, Schmitty. Right, media? Right, media, you have to protect Burrow. Burrow has to be the priority here, Schmitty. As if I don't think... You think... You're like casual. You think I don't do this for a living. It's insulting. It's insulting. I still love you, casual. I do wonder what my blood pressure is. I gotta go check it out. I agree. But Ja'Marr Chase, Bengal, or Kyle Pitts. Give me Kyle Pitts. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I get sad for about 5 seconds, and then I'm like, Kyle Pitts. Okay, cool. Let's move on, baby. Kyle Pitts, Bengals, baby. The only thing I want more than Ja'Marr Chase or Kyle Pitts in Cincinnati in 2021, in this Thursday draft coming up, this beautiful, beautiful day called NFL Draft Day that happens. I'm live, by the way, if you didn't know, from freaking the start of it, probably past the end of it, and probably a little bit before, and I'm with the Quad Box gang. I will be patching that into my live stream, and that will take control of the live until those gentlemen leave, and then at that point, it's, you know, We're talking and discussing and breaking down the impact of the impact players, the fantasy football impact players. We'll break it all down. What's it mean? What about Javonte Williams? He may not have been drafted, right? What's that mean? Predictions for the second round. I'm going to be live the entire first round and probably the next day, breaking all this down. You know I'm going to be. So make sure you're here. Where was I going with this? I get so sidetracked. Casual, doesn't think. I was going somewhere with that. I forget where. Mac Jones, no. Pitts. Oh! The only thing I want more. I remembered. Ja'Marr Chase or Kyle Pitts to the Bengals at number 5. The only thing I want more. The only thing. And I want it more, baby. I want it more for sure. Is one of Devonta Smith or Kyle Pitts. Granted, you got to have a trade up to get Kyle Pitts or Ja'Marr Chase in this situation, but Devonta Smith could fall. Nothing I want more than Justin Herbert at pick 13 or a move up to get one of Kyle Pitts, Ja'Marr Chase, or Devonta Smith. I will shart in my pants live on my live stream if that happens. I will go change. I will come back like a champ. We'll all admit that it's a healthy habit to have on draft day because you get excited, man. You can't control it. I will be so ecstatic if Justin Herbert, the GOAT, the potential mini GOAT, okay, mini GOAT, MVP candidate in 2021, especially if this happens. MVP candidate. Chargers surprise top 4 team in 21. You heard me right. I'm looking at every camera angle here. Top 4 team in the NFL. If this happens, get ready. It's going to be a wild night if Herbert gets his hands on one of those 3 players. Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith, or Ja'Marr Chase. And you will see people hyping up Herbert like you've never seen or even heard about. Herbert's going to go QB2 to a lot of people. And don't be shocked. Don't be mad. Don't be upset. Don't feel surprised. Because if he gets his hands on a generational talent in Dynasty, on top of Keenan Allen, on top of all of that, dude's going to go crazy. Going to be electric. I freaking love Herbert. He's my number 3 Dynasty QB already. And he's an MVP candidate already. This is if nothing happens. If they add an offensive lineman, I'm fine. I'm going to be okay. Maybe I don't need to change my pants, but I will be fine. I will be excited. This is a top 4 team in the making. And it's going to all break down and kick off in week 1. Now, I want Burrow to get one of the 2 as well. I believe the Bengals are smart. I believe the Bengals don't listen to the noise. I believe the Bengals don't listen to regurgitation by people that say, but you have to protect Burrow, Smitty. Brian says he goes, look at this comment. This is honesty right here. Let's all stop for a moment and appreciate an honest person admitting one of his flaws and faults. Okay? Like, this is an open discussion. Brian says, Smitty, I shart every time you go live. And that's okay, Brian. It's fine. We're with you. We support you. And you'll always have a place to shart here, bro. Always. Dynasty, top 2 to 3, locked and loaded, Herbert. Whether he gets another weapon or not. That's how I feel about him. That's how I feel about the mini GOAT, bro. That's how I feel about the mini GOAT. Okay, so we're done with the Najee Harris talk. Is addressing the question at hand. I went on for how long now? Almost a whole hour. We got to get Grant in here too. Holy crap. Let me send Grant a link. Broskies, absolutely. NFL running backs of the caliber of ETN, Javonte Williams, and Najee Harris deserve to be first-round running backs. And I don't care what history has told us about it. We could see it happen in this draft, and coaches aren't worried about what other people have done in the past. Hey, Grant, here is the link. If you don't join, you're fired. Okay, Grant knows that he's got to come on. Let the dragon loose. I didn't get that queued up. I'm sorry. I apologize. That's on me. Let the dragon loose. I have to have that ready for the draft. By the way, because I'm live for the draft, I will be going live a little later on Thursday. I'll probably be going live around 4 something instead of going from, or sorry, your time, Eastern time would be, instead of going live from 4 to 7, I'm going to go live around like, I want to say 7 o'clock Eastern, because the draft is at 8 p.m. I'll probably go live about an hour before, from about 7 on until the draft. So we're just going to move Thursday's show only, just because I don't want to be live the entire, Thursday and then go live again and then be worn out, tired, not ready to rumble, and have you guys feeling like you're getting shafted on the analysis. So I'm going to go live around 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Let the dragon loose, baby. Let the dragon loose. Devonta Smith, teammate. What's his name on the other the receiver? You talking about Waddle? Waddle could be good. I feel like Waddle is not in the same vein as Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase. I know some people disagree with me, and I respect those opinions, but I just don't see it. I don't see him as the same talent or caliber. Next up, next piece of news. What's this one? Aaron Rodgers, Packers GM, Mr. B, reiterated that Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback for the foreseeable future. Then what in the hell were you doing drafting Jordan Love, idiots? Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Spitting in the face of your franchise quarterback that is nowhere near done. The dude's got a stash like no other that I've seen. Look at that. It's an amazing stash. Does he still have that right now? This dude was 36 years old, turning 37, and everybody and their mother writing him off. Oh, Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be good anymore. Aaron Rodgers wasn't even getting started. Aaron Rodgers has another 3 years left minimum. And you go and draft, like, what a dumb move. What a dumb move. But what did Aaron Rodgers do? He got annoyed, but he just flicked off Love like that and just moved on about his business. But what he did do, what the Packers did do, is potentially damage the relationship enough to where you got A-Rod saying to himself, well, Tom Brady went off and became the GOAT in everyone's mind by going elsewhere and winning. Maybe I want to do that. If you would have taken care of A-Rod like you should have, Green Bay, he wouldn't be thinking about leaving. But he's asked constantly, what do you think about staying or going, or do you have any plans? He has said that he would like to stay, but he's also said that he doesn't know what the future holds for him. And maybe he will get an itch to go do what Tom Brady did. Go somewhere else and win a championship. Be treated a little differently. Not get spat on and say, we're going to draft we're going to replace you at 36 years old because we're morons. And we're not going to draft a single wide receiver for you. And he still does what he did last year because he's a beast. Because Aaron Rodgers comes to work every day. You don't even get him a wide receiver in the best receiving draft class we've had in forever. And you sit on your rear end and you don't get this man a wide receiver. Claypool. I said it for months. Claypool, ideal landing spot, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers loves his tight end type wide receivers, or tight ends in general, makes them stars. And what do? You let Claypool go to Pittsburgh, where he's got a kind of a bright future, but a horrible quarterback situation in 1 year. So I'm a little worried about Claypool. But Claypool should have fell to freaking Green Bay. It was a match made in heaven. It was possible to do. The draft capital was not that great. And you screw it up. You draft Love, screw that up. I don't blame A-Rod if he wants out. I don't blame him. I do wonder with Aaron Jones being brought back if there was a conversation there like I ain't going anywhere. But Aaron Jones would have a tough time if A-Rod left. I just don't understand what Green Bay thinks when they do what they do. Where did you get that chair? Wouldn't you like to know, Brian? I don't want anybody else having this chair, bro. But I still appreciate you. Top 5 fantasy QBs this year possibly. I do believe that A-Rod's got that in the cards. Another rookie. Let's stick on some rookies while we got the NFL draft coming up. Ja'Marr Chase is the first unanimous top wide receiver in a poll by McGinn, which is often used. A lot of evaluators in this. Calvin Johnson was the only other wide receiver that was ever given unanimous votes to be the number 1 wide receiver, and the other guy that was, I think, second was Crabtree, which makes the poll seem a little bit crappy at that point. Crabby. Like, I don't know how I feel about the poll anymore. It's like, oh my God, Ja'Marr Chase is the number 1 wide receiver across the board on this amazing poll that had Crabtree as the second best wide receiver of all time. Attention! Michael Crabtree's the second best receiver to ever come out of college, according to 80-year-old men. And they say that Crabtree's going to be something special. So buckle up. Get ready for the crab train. Crabs is going to be in season. It's crab season, baby. It's crab season. It's crab decade. Crabtree's going to go crazy. I love Crabtree. Not. So I don't know how I feel about the poll anymore. I really don't. Devonta Smith should be getting some love. The fact that not one person liked Devonta Smith as much as Ja'Marr Chase makes me feel like the poll is invalidated. Not Smitty approved. Where's my cane? I deem this poll ineffective, rudimentary, and old school. Poll invalidated. Cane drop. Anyway, I like Ja'Marr Chase, okay? Let's be real. I like Ja'Marr Chase. Hi, Andrew. Nice to see you. What's good, piggy? Later, casual. Crabtree the GOAT. Oh, my God. Crabtree hands down. We have a lot of Niner people in here, so we're going to get a lot of crab votes. A lot of people like crabs in this live stream currently. Anyway, I like Ja'Marr Chase. He's fantastic. Fantastic. But I love me Devonta Smith almost. Actually, just as much. And where they land will decide who I think is going to do better right out the gate. But I do believe both of these guys, you can call me rookie hungry. I don't give a crap. These guys are going to be electric. Both of them. Both of them are top 6 wide receivers in fantasy football in 1.5 to 2 years. Both of them are that good. Here's a little ETN news. Oh, what do you know? I actually didn't even read this. I grabbed it. Peter King said that the Bills could draft Clemson running back Travis Etienne with the 30th overall pick. I agree. I've been saying it for months, man. I've been saying it for months. Travis Etienne would be fire in this Buffalo Bill attack. Travis Etienne and Javonte Williams, but mainly Travis Etienne, fits this offense enough that it makes sense to spend the draft capital on it. You know what I mean? Because you have a generational type of physical ability in this guy, and you would probably feed him a ton. Thank you, Andrew. You would feed him a ton. You would give him receptions. We're on Smitty1.com, Andrew. You can certainly watch from IG. I don't mind having both audiences in there. I'm just letting you know that I'm live for 3 straight hours every Tuesday and Thursday on my YouTube channel, which you can find at Smitty1.com. I'm also live. We're going to move the live on Thursday into the NFL draft time slot, so make sure you join me for the entire NFL draft. All I can say about this is what I said before. I wasted a lot of time on it already. ETN. Complete fire. Give me some ETN to the Buffalo Bills. I'm all about that. I love the Buffalo Bills. I have family from Buffalo. If I wasn't Cardinal geared, I would be Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bills next in line, baby, because that's where my family comes from. Buffalo is the outcast. Am I right, New Yorkers? No respect for Buffalo. Buffalo's not even in New York. If you ask somebody in New York City, they say Buffalo ain't New York. I don't know where Buffalo lives then. But, you know, I'm all about the Bills. I'm all about predicting the rise of Josh Allen. My breakout from over 2 years ago. Love Josh Allen. He can't throw. He's inaccurate. He won't do well. No way, broskies. Not on my watch. Not on my watch, which is why I love Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson so much. And I'm going to tell you until I'm blue in the face, because I think both can be elite. I don't see Trey Lance, Fields, or Mac Jones being elite, but their situation, whoever falls in San Fran, will be an elite situation, turning a good quarterback, at least hanging on to the tier of the elite, like Jalen Hurts does with his running ability. Jalen Hurts, if he's starting, will hang on to the top tier. Here's my boy Grant. Here is my boy Grant. What's up, Grant?
Hey.
Grant coming in hot.
There we go.
Grant coming in hot. Grant, you're just in time. We're talking about some news. I'd like to get your opinion. We're doing news in NFL draft talk in hour 1 and 2. We're almost into hour 2 anyway, so it's a perfect segue. We've talked already about, let me kill the music so we can hear Grant. We talked about ETN possibly going to Buffalo. There's some reports on that. I'm not sure how you feel about ETN and Buffalo. Talk about it. Speak to the people.
Honestly, I think it's a great fit. You're going to have a lot of razzle-dazzle with Josh Allen. Diggs is going to get him vertical. I really think once you get a home run threat, the way Etienne and all his versatility is, I think it could be a match made in heaven if Allen would ever learn how to dump the ball down to his backs. I think it could be beautiful there.
Yeah. Freddie, I was talking about Buffalo. I said if I wasn't a Cardinal fan, I would, Buffalo would be my team because my family's from Buffalo. And I was saying that Buffalo is not considered in New York by most New Yorkers. They're like, yeah, Buffalo doesn't exist. That's what Freddie says. You're right. Buffalo wings. Brian. All right. So, Smitty, why do you ignore the comments? Uzi, I don't ignore the comments. This is a show, bro. This isn't my live stream where I go through and I read every comment. I'm presenting a lot of stuff to you in rapid fashion. I have 3 hours to break down all these different things. So, no offense, Uzi. This isn't that type of live stream. I do try and keep my eye on the live stream comments. And I do, as you can tell, interject when I can. But it's there's a lot to cover. I can't read comments or it's a boring show. So I've been yelling at everybody all day, Grant. So
me too, man. I get it.
If you get fired or rehired in the middle of this, don't feel bad about it, Grant. You're the best intern we've had, and even though you're our first.
No, I appreciate it.
What you eating there?
Mott's. I really haven't had lunch today, so I'm kind of snacking as we go. If that's all right.
Can we see it? Everyone's always interested in the food, Grant. Oh, that's what you're eating the baby's food?
Pretty much, yeah.
You're just stealing it from little Grant?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What about how many rookie running backs are going in the first round, Grant?
I mean, one or two. I mean, it's only going to be one or two. Honestly, I think probably both of them will go. Either Buffalo at 30, or I really think you could see the Jets coming back into the back end of the first round and grabbing Etienne.
What about Pittsburgh?
Well, I think Pittsburgh's going to take Najee Harris.
So Najee Harris is the locked and loaded running back that goes in round one, you think, and then the other ones. Do you think Javonte Williams could beat out Etienne and be like a let's see, like the Bills or the Jets or the Buffalo Bills, the Jets, or the Dolphins?
Well, I will say one thing. That would be a Jets move to draft Javonte Williams over Etienne. That is what the Jets would do.
And I don't know that I hate it. I like Javonte a lot. I think he's kind of Jonathan Taylor-like. But I do feel like Etienne, out of all the running backs, if I had to base it off talent, and I've done the pre-landing spot, like January, February analysis, and Etienne is my favorite. I like Chuba Hubbard a lot as like a crafty late guy. So if like he landed in Buffalo or in a place that could use him, I really think he could climb up and become that like Kamara type guy, and Kamara was like late first round material in rookie only drafts, and there's always going to be those guys that emerge. Give me the best landing spots in order. Top 4. I'll give you mine first. I think Arizona is the number 1 landing spot for Najee Harris, only because, and I know I sound biased because I'm in Arizona, but we saw them commit religiously to Drake, and whether he was effective or not is a whole nother thing. Like, they fed him the football. Najee Harris was getting. Looks like we lost Grant for a second. Grant might have spilled his applesauce. He'll be back. Oh, there he is. What's up, Grant?
All right, sorry, Beck. I had to put every time I get a phone call, it messes everything up on my phone. So
okay, we thought you had to get another applesauce. I didn't know.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. All right, so what was the question?
Question was, let me switch camera angles here so I can talk to you a little bit better. Okay.
Something about 4 players.
Yeah. Best 4 landing spots. So I like Arizona best for Najee Harris. I think if Najee Harris lands in Arizona, they've already shown how committed they are to running Drake. And Drake, got hurt. They even shoved him back into the lineup as a starter while he was healing. They were committed to him. He got a lot of yards, got a lot of touchdowns, didn't get used in the PPR game, which is why I like Najee Harris a little better than the ETN. But I think that would be a phenomenal landing spot, and the Cardinals would use him a ton, and that would keep Kyler Murray healthy and defensive attention off him. I think the Niners would be interesting. I do fear a little bit of running back by committee with the Niners organization, but I think if they ever had a high draft capital invested running back like Najee Harris in the if they trade back into round 1, which is a topic that we've had a lot on the Niner community pages that we've had, but if they trade back into round 1 and get Najee Harris, they would probably ride him until the wheels fell off. But what do you think about those 2 landing spots, and do you think Pittsburgh and Miami are better, or Buffalo?
From a fantasy perspective or from an actual team perspective?
You could address both, but they kind of go hand in hand for me. I don't really look at it differently. I think Arizona is a little bit you could say risky, but it also has a ton of appeal.
Right. So also, right now, I think with the Pittsburgh, I think there's a stark difference between fantasy versus reality, because I don't see his fantasy value in Pittsburgh as a top 15, top 20 guy right now, because their line is so decimated, and all Ben wants to do is just throw the ball nonstop. So having said that, I think he would be a great addition for the team, but I don't think you're going to see that top 15 output the way you would saw with Le'Veon Bell or brief glimpses of James Conner. Had they re-signed Villanueva yet?
Let me pull that up.
I don't think that they've signed him yet. And so I'm really worried about their line moving forward.
No.
But having said that, I really love him in Miami. They're going to give him the rock probably. I mean, they want to run the ball probably 55, 60. That'd probably be a little much, but 55, 60% of the time there, and take a lot of pressure off Tua. They've got a young line that I like. I like Flores as the coach. I think he could do tremendous things in Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be a phenomenal location for. I think Miami's probably the safest landing spot of all of the landing spots to me. I think the Jets are a crafty one. They're also pretty safe. I think Arizona's got risk, but high upside. San Fran's got risk, but high upside. But I think, as I said in my Instagram post, you make unicorns out of these situations. Like if Najee landed in Arizona or in San Fran. San Fran, if they fed Najee right, would do top 5 things, I think.
I completely agree with that.
I think that Devonta Williams in Miami is a strong possibility in the second round, and I think that flips fantasy football rookie drafts upside down. Coming out of round 1, you're like, okay, we know what we got, and then all of a sudden, boom, he lands in Miami. It's like, this could be the 1.1.
Seriously, that could be right.
What do you? Here, let's pull up some more news. Julio Jones, Peter King. I don't know what to think.
It makes sense for Atlanta wanting to trade him, because their salary cap situation is an absolute disaster. As much as it would break my heart to see Julio go anywhere else, in play because Julio's probably one of my favorite receivers ever. I would love for him to stay in Atlanta, but from like an actual team standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for them to go ahead and trade him, relieve a lot of salary cap issues. And like we were saying 2 weeks ago, that now makes Calvin Ridley the clear-cut number one. And now he's at least – I mean, Calvin Ridley might be my number 2 overall in fantasy this year if Julio is traded away.
Yeah, and the thing that's funny is, like, anybody shocked about that, Calvin Ridley has already played at the number 1 overall wide receiver level. Like, he was the number 1 wide receiver for not just like 1 or 2 games, for a string of 2020. And we know how capable he is. Ridley's one of the best value. He won't be if Julio's gone. Everybody will just start hyping him up. But he's one of the best value wide receivers in round 2. I put up a poll on IG saying, is he a top 12 pick? And I did that like 3 months ago, and it got a lot of negative comments. There was like nothing but negativity. I bet you if I posted that poll today, it would be very, very different. And if Julio's gone, everybody be talking about him being top 1 to 5 for wide receivers. No question about it. Locked and loaded. Top
Absolutely.
11.
He's a first-round draft. If
top.
Julio gets traded, he is a first-round draft.
Yeah. Now, but if they are going to trade Julio, Ja'Marr Chase might be in their consideration at number 4 then. Not saying that you need to replace Julio. Like, a lot of teams don't have even a Ridley, let alone 2 players like, Ridley and Ja'Marr. But he had been talked about going or being mocked to Atlanta, and I kept saying, not with Julio there. I can understand why people want to replace Julio, but Julio's still there now. I think they go after Pitts if they're going to do anything. What do you think about them taking a wide receiver? Let's say they trade Julio before the draft. Then how likely are they to maybe take Ja'Marr Chase?
They probably would be likely to take Ja'Marr Chase. It's either him or Pitts is everything I'm hearing, or what I think makes sense for him. Man, that would be scary. Can you imagine for the next 7 or 8 years, Calvin Ridley and Ja'Marr Chase? That would be insane.
Yeah, it would make Ryan a tough guy to rank because, like, by default you put him below X number of people, and it's like, well, if he had both those weapons, I mean, give me a break. So if you had to put odds on it that Julio gets traded, what do you think? I think about like 20%, but that's me.
I just think they're in such a bad salary cap situation, and Julio really hasn't been healthy for the most part. He's missed a lot of games the last few years. I really think that they could probably move on, so I'll put it about 50-50.
But do you think a team really sees Julio as like I think anybody that knows a whole lot about football and how quickly players can fall off, do you think anybody's really looking at Julio saying we need to give up this and this for Julio? Like, it'd have to be the perfect situation because he doesn't have a lot of time left on top, and everyone's got to kind of know that. His age. He's how old? Let me pull up.
Well, this is what I'll tell you here.
Yeah. He's 20. He's 32. He's 32.
Do what?
He's 32 years old. I mean, you'd have to have a blindfold on to not know he's got like 1 year left. You know what I mean? So like, who's going to trade for him is my only question. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like, who would be Green Bay?
Well, think about it. If Green Bay, 3rd or 4th round draft pick, now you have Julio Jones, who's still going to be one of the best, probably top 10 overall actual receivers in the league, with Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers has Aaron Jones there. He's got the line. He's got everything he needs. He's finally got 2 stud receivers. That could blow that team up on a whole nother level because think about it. Green Bay is built to win now, not in the future. I'm not a big Jordan Love guy. He's 3 or 4 years away. Give me Julio for a year and a half, 2 years, given with Aaron Rodgers. That could be scary.
Yeah. That scenario I could envision. Guys, I'm going to post the YouTube link in the chat if you want to spread it around, get some people in here. There it is. Appreciate anything you guys do on that front. Okay, Julio Jones. Mac Jones, we talked about this earlier. Peter King with all these hot topics that won't come true, said that Mac Jones is the accurate coach on field quarterback that the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan craves. What do you think about this whole Mac Jones rising up in big media as the guy that the Niners are going to pick when everybody on the ground, all the fans everywhere, all the people that are in like positions like I am or you're in, where we analyze this thing from a different perspective. Alexa, show me the front door. We're live, Grant.
Okay.
I think it's a package. It's broken. What was I saying?
I don't think it makes sense for them to take Mac Jones at 3 overall, especially considering what they gave up.
Yeah, that's what
You've
I'm
got
saying.
your steady, safe quarterback that makes good decisions in Garoppolo, and then you're going to trade him away for Skittles, and then you're going to trade up to get the same exact guy with no upside hardly. That didn't make any sense to me. Why would you either need to take Trey Lance or Justin Fields right here? Any other quarterback off the board other than those two would just it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Trey Lance. He gives them that extra avenue of production. Nobody wants Mac Jones. Like the fan base, there's like a 10% really loud hardcore group of people that want Mac Jones, but it's like 10%, and I don't know where it's coming from, and no one has anybody that they're citing. And you have guys that usually are the sources talking about it. So Schefter and Rappaport, these are guys that usually break the news, right? And they're speculating like other people without any kind of sources. And I don't know where this is coming from because usually they don't do that. I don't know if they are hearing something and they're not allowed to like source it or whatever. But it does seem, and the press conference yesterday was kind of odd. And I tried to break it down and say that, if you were going to take Mac Jones and one of the reporters said, what do you think about Mac Jones? Your reaction would have been, I like all 5 quarterbacks or whatever. But he said, I like Mac Jones, but I also like all 4 quarterbacks. And I just felt like if you're breaking that down, and he could be just trying to screw with everybody and just, completely throw smoke up. But it seemed like that answer, if it was Mac, you would run away from that answer and then circle back rather than talk about Mac right away. But that was the way I broke it down. I tried to use my psychological breakdown on it. I don't know. I think it's Lance. I think Lance fits best, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Fields. And if Shanahan picks Mac Jones, he's gonna have a revolt on his hands, and he better land it. He better make everybody like be in apologetic mode. And everybody be like, God, he was right. This dude is electric. He's elite. He's the man. We all messed up. Shanahan, you're the best. Like, it's got to go down that way or he's in trouble.
I can see that absolutely. And what I really worry about is, what exactly are their intentions? What are they doing? You've got Kittle there. I just go back to what we were talking about. It doesn't make a lot of sense to go from steady and safe to steady and safe. Give me something electric. Give me something that will excite the fan base and a quarterback that actually make plays.
Yeah, Lance is I think that guy, but I think Fields has a touch of it too. But Lance, you could put Lance in the field in week 1, even if you're starting Jimmy G. You could Taysom Hill him, put him out there like Taysom Hill. He'd be electric. Javonte Williams. A lot of teams are reporting that he is the top running back prospect to them. I really believe he has Jonathan Taylor potential in fantasy if he gets in the right spot. I know you like ETN most. I kind of do too. But in the right landing spot, do you like Javonte Williams more than ETN in a little bit lesser landing spot? Or is ETN going to win out talent-wise to you?
Absolutely. If you look at Javonte Williams in Miami versus Etienne in Buffalo, I like Javonte Williams. It's night and day different.
Yeah.
It's completely.
Okay.
I love Williams in that spot.
And like I talked before, you can't separate situation from player. Arian Foster wouldn't have been Arian Foster if he wasn't in Houston. So,
exactly right.
Where he lands, that will cement his upside and ability. And Miami's the safest landing spot. Like if the Cardinals don't take Najee Harris specifically, or the Niners don't take Najee Harris specifically, because that running back fits perfectly for what they want to do and how they want to run the ball, then Miami is the best landing spot. Miami is probably the 1.1. That running back's the 1.1.
All right. So have you been hearing anything about Jacksonville at the first overall in the second round taking a running back?
People, it wouldn't shock me if a team like, like Urban Meyer comes in and he does want his own running back. It wouldn't shock me, but I haven't read anything. The only thing I've seen is when they talk about that James Robinson can't do it all. They want to get another back in there to help spell him. That to me doesn't say we're replacing James Robinson or we're taking a big name running back. The Jaguars have a lot of other things they got to address. And when you have a guy like J-Rob already on roster, why would you go and waste a pick on a, maybe getting the same kind of level of talent in there to compete with that other level of talent when you could fill another hole entirely? James Robinson, it could happen. Anything can happen. And draft capital falling, for running backs means that in the third rounds, Sermon will probably go in round 2. But if he didn't, and they saw him sitting there in round 3, any team would be willing to grab a Chuba Hubbard or a Sermon at like 4th round value. So no running back is safe from an additional really good running back being drafted onto a team and ruining value. I think it happens every year. One player is going to get, crapped on from a landing spot with one of these guys because Sermon, Carter, Hill, Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard, one of these guys is going to fall, I think, into a place where it's like, crap, what do we do now with the other player? And Kenyon Drake and Jacobs is an example of teams saying we do want 2 running backs. It could happen. But I believe, if I'm evaluating this, I believe that James Robinson is a gem. He's a top 5 to 10 running back. And I don't care that he was an unrestricted free agent. What he did between the tackles with defensive attention completely on him because they couldn't move the football through the air was amazing. And with Lawrence coming in now to stretch the field, I believe J-Rob is going to have a big, big year. And his draft value is amazing. In Dynasty, he's a 3rd rounder. And in redraft, he might breach that area too if he escapes the NFL draft without a running back being taken or a big name running back. I think you'll see him climb up a little bit because people will then reevaluate and go, J-Rob, that he was a winner from the draft. He escaped without a running back coming in. And so, I think his value will fluctuate. But if there's one running back in round 2, like if you're going to go wide receiver in round 1 and you're like, I don't know that I want to do that because what running backs will fall, J-Rob is kind of your saving grace in round 2. And Gibson too. Gibson and J-Rob, I think, are those guys sitting there in round 2 that can help you out if you do go wide receiver in round 1. What do you think of J-Rob? You're muted. Call back again real quick. We'll get Grant back in here. He's speechless is what he's basically trying to tell you. Grant is speechless. For the first time in the show history, Grant doesn't know what to say. He loves my take so much. What's up, Grant? You were speechless.
Sorry about that.
You were just absolutely...
Every time I get a phone call off this thing, it messes me up. And
That's fine.
I've been muting my wife over and over and over. She's blowing me up right now.
It's part of the show.
I don't know what's going on. All right, so...
We expect it of you. It's fine.
Well, I'm just hoping I can still be the intern by the end of the day.
Yeah, well, we don't have any other applicants right now, so you're safe. What do you think of J-Rob?
I love him. In my big league where we travel and everything, I've got the number 1 overall pick this year. Obviously, I'm going Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall. At the end of the second, knowing my guys in the league, I am praying that James Robinson falls to me at the end of the second round. There's no way he should fall that far, but it possibly might. And so there's, you got that whole cluster of guys with Swift, Gibson, James.
Call back. Call your wife first. Let's. There he is. Well, I like I like that he's got. I'll finish what he was saying. Grant, maybe you are going to be fired by the end of the show. I don't know. We're going to put it to a vote. Jerry loves him. Dallas might trade back. I don't know what's going on, Grant. I think maybe you might have to restart your phone. I'll send him a little message. Maybe restart the phone. Grant. Anyway. There he is. We got him back.
It's crazy. All right, so
Don't worry about it.
my son's 9 months old, and we're supposed to be having swim class today, and he's not going. So she doesn't know that, and I'm on doing this, and it's just she's calling us.
You gotta call and take care of it. It's fine. I forget what we're talking about. Javonte
James
Williams.
Robinson. So like with the end of the second round, you've got a cluster of guys like Swift, Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, James Robinson. I'll even throw Josh Jacobs in there, loosely. All those guys at the end of the second round, I think you're going to see a lot of people in drafts interchange those five right there in no particular order.
Yeah,
it's going to be a personal preference, but I think James Robinson, in my opinion, if I'm drafting, he's number one on that list by a mile.
Yeah, I love him in round 2. I love him in round 3 too. Like if you go, or in an auction draft, I think that you could go wide receiver, equivalent if you're talking about draft dollars, and then your third most expensive player or whatever could be James Robinson, and then you could build from there. Not a bad move. I don't necessarily think it's my favorite strategy, but I like James Robinson in round 2. I like Gibson in round 2. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire in round 3. Some people will say I'm not touching Clyde. He burned me, but I kind of like him.
Isn't Clyde's ADP probably mid-4th right now?
It might be now. And if it's
low, like 4th or 5th round.
If it's 4th, I'm excited.
I think it's crazy he's dropping that low.
Last news here, and then we'll kind of just talk about NFL draft. I'm a little lit behind on the news today. Eagles could select a running back in the 2nd or 3rd round of the draft. Wouldn't shock me. And let me just say this first, man. The way the Eagles are handling this quarterback situation is a disaster. I love Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts could be really good, but you have Peterson benching him, creating this riff in the locker room. They end up firing Peterson because of it. I believe it's got to be the reason. He was a recently Super Bowl attending quarterback or a coach, taking his team to the big game. You don't just fire a guy like that unless there's problems. And so I think, okay, to myself, they got rid of the problem. Now we got Miles Sanders ready to be utilized because Peterson never runs one running back. He was the problem. He was why I said stay clear of Sanders for, he's like the plague to me in 2020. And he didn't perform up to expectations, didn't get the volume. I got excited when they got rid of Peterson. But this new coach, Nick Sirianni or whatever the hell his name is, has paper, rock, scissors wars and Zoom calls. That's like his practice right now. He has said that he's not committing to Jalen Hurts. And now there's reports that they might draft a running back. This feels as bad, if not worse, than the Doug Peterson situation. And while I was hopeful at one point that this could be the Buffalo Bill turnaround team, the Eagles, because they could draft Devonta Smith, he could fall with everybody worried about his weight. I don't trust that they'll make the right moves at all. And I think Philly is doomed.
It really is kind of shocking. They've got so many talented pieces to the puzzle. They're just one receiver short, a little bit on defense, and they could have one heck of a team. What the management is doing, I realize they want to get people to have competition. They want people to compete. But they're athletes. You shouldn't have to mow them with paper, rock, scissors, for God's sake. Like, I understand you want someone to win at everything they do, but that's a little juvenile. I mean, these athletes shouldn't be motivated. They should already have some form of internal motivation. It shouldn't take them a paper rock scissors contest to get where they're going.
Is
like
that
that's
how
not how
the-
you decide.
Is that
what
how
you
they
wanna do in
determine?
running back.
Is that how they determine who starts? Like Sanders and Boston Scott are like, okay, let's go 2 out of 3. Like this guy looks like a joker from the beginning. Like I don't even understand what's going on. Not to mention the Eagles just notoriously botch every draft pick. Hold on
And it
one
kinda
second,
scares-
Grant.
Yeah.
Take over real quick, Grant. I gotta grab this.
What's kind of funny is kind of what we were just talking about with coaches. What really, I hate saying this, but you've got people like Dan Campbell coming in and just making a mockery of their first interviews, and you're just kind of going, what are you doing? They go to organizations that historically don't have a clue what's going on. Kind of look what the Browns did a few years ago with Mike Pettin. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, with that dumpster fire of an organization, and then Mike Pettin coming in just completely screwing up everything with the quarterback situation. The defense was atrocious. It just doesn't give me a lot of faith in what the Eagles are doing, considering Miles Sanders is probably, as far as talent-wise go, arguably top 10 in the league. And you're talking about drafting another guy. The man can do everything he wants. I mean, he was loosely in the same breath as being compared just to as good, or if not maybe better than Saquon Barkley while he was at Penn State. So it doesn't make a lot of sense kind of what they're doing. So, but we'll kind of see what's going on with that. But in the meantime, just be kind of curious to see what everybody's, what the news is going to happen with that. I know everybody's super pumped about, the draft on Thursday. I hope everybody's going to sit there and
He did great.
get some cocktails.
He did great. I have my daughter at school blowing my phone up now, and so I had to figure out what the heck's going on. They know I'm live.
Gotcha. That's right.
Don't like YouTube version, definitely better than the IG. Thank you, Jeffrey. So yeah, I'm worried as hell about this situation, and I saw a comment in here before I walked out where it said I'm done with Miles Sanders, last straw, whatever. Trade him for James Robinson. Absolutely, if you can get James Robinson,
Oh,
for Miles
100%.
Sanders.
As far as
Win.
situation goes, now Miles Sanders, talent-wise, is leaps and bounds over James Robinson. But situationally, James Robinson, I'm drafting him every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Miles Sanders, based on situations.
Yeah, I like Sanders and I like Mixon a little bit at mid to late third round value, like in a jam. And like I don't like who's fallen, and I need a running back. Like I've seen it and been like, okay, I'm okay with this. But they were two of my biggest avoids last year because they were going in round 2. I'm okay, and I'll Smitty approve a trade or whatever if you're valuing Mixon and Sanders in like late third round value. But I might be changing my tune on not Mixon, because I think his offense will open up, and at third drafted player value, I'm kind of okay with that for 1 year. Sanders, I'm starting to feel like maybe I'm not going to be okay with third round value, because there's so many good players still in that third round. Like you're talking about guys that just have less risk, so I think he might move out of that like safe zone is 3.5 to 4 round range. I don't know that I'm going to feel that way anymore.
Yeah, that's tough. And we're kind of going, do we want to talk? One guy you just mentioned was Joe Mixon. What's your opinion on him coming in this year? I personally think he's never lived up to the hype. He's never done what everybody thought he would do. And I'm not saying he's a first or second round draft pick, but for a third round value, even at the beginning of the first or the third, I think that could be tremendous value for Mixon in the third round.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put this on the board, and we can mock draft maybe. And sorry, I messed with your face location. If you move. There you go.
I can assure you most of these people don't want to see my face
No,
anymore.
Grant, they love you, man. You don't get much hate at all. Like I rarely, like even when your phone's screwing up, people love it. They're like, Grant's the man.
Well, I
Okay,
appreciate
so-
y'all being patient with me today on my phone.
I'm gonna erase the risk map right now because I'm remaking it anyway. But I love the risk map. People love it. This is a drawing that I did earlier. It's fantastic, isn't it? Okay, so I think maybe Grant. How much time you got?
I have about 15 minutes.
Okay, if you got a bounce, no worries at all. We appreciate your time regardless, no matter how long we get you on here. All right, let's do a mock draft. Are you equipped?
I love mock drafting.
All right, you're equipped for it. Let's go. Let's roll. We will rotate picks. I will give you the road. You can pick. Let's make this. Do you want to make this redraft or dynasty?
Let's do redraft.
Okay, let's do redraft.
Because it's hard to do dynasty right now without knowing. Next week after the draft, let's do dynasty for sure.
Okay.
Because that'll throw a whole nother level into the mix.
Okay, let's do that. Let me write on here on the screen or on the board here. This will be 2021 redraft.
And obviously, we're not going to be drafting any of the incoming rookies.
Obviously, we will.
Even though we don't know what teams they are?
Exactly.
All right, let's do it.
We're not leaving them out. We're putting them in, baby. Okay, because it'll be interesting to see our opinions now and how that can change. I think people will enjoy that. So, go ahead and kick off the draft, Grant. Who's the 1.1 in redraft PPR? We'll do PPR. 1 QB.
You got to go Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall.
Okay. I don't disagree. I'm not going to argue with you. I think the lingering injuries, the small, tiny things very much match what we saw out of Alvin Kamara coming out of 2019. Everyone's going to freak out like people did about Kamara. And I think people will be upset if they doubt Christian McCaffrey. One thing we do know for sure is when McCaffrey returned here and there last year, he blew up. Even when he came back and he was somewhat limited, he blew up. And every time he's on the field, he goes crazy. So, the only thing that worries me is that he's not on the field, but I'm not worried about the drop-off yet. I might take this at a year-by-year basis type of thing because his mileage is through the roof. But for 2021, I have no questions at all about making him my 1.1. And while I don't put all my eggs in one basket with players, I'd feel comfortable enough that if I had the 1.1 in like a number of leagues, I don't think I'd mix it up. I might go Kamara like in 1 just to make sure I have a little bit of a variety, but I probably would still draft McCaffrey, a boatload of them at 1.1.
Yep.
2, I'm going to go Kamara. I understand the worry that people have, that we don't know what we're getting out of Kamara. I feel like him running for 150 plus yards and 6 TDs in week 16 really gives me an indication that the team's willing to run him more if they're not going to pass to him more. But I do also think that a whole offseason, and Taysom Hill came out and said this, that he prepared as a Swiss Army knife all year last year, and then he got handed the keys of the lineup. Like, I don't know about you, Grant, but if you don't train for a certain job and then you're asked to do it, you're going to be a little bit, like makeshift with it. And they've got to limit the offense. With limiting the offense when Taysom Hill's under center because he doesn't know the offense, limiting it makes so that you probably phase out a lot of Kamara's PPR action, because you don't have all the plays down. Having an entire offseason to prepare as the quarterback, which is what Taysom Hill confirmed is happening. He's not preparing as a slash. He's getting paid as a quarterback. Him and Winston are going to compete for the job. Even if Winston wins it, he's going to be used in red zone situations even more so than last year. He'll be a quarterback. So I think Kamara is going to come out of this fine. I think if he doesn't get the same reception totals, which he did have more last year than he had the 3 previous years where he had 81, 81, 81. What do you have, 86 or something last year? The dude improved. Like he's never had under 80 receptions in a single season, yet the biggest concern people have is that he won't catch enough passes. So to me, he's locked in it too. Any disagreements?
Right. For the number 3, I'm going to go Dalvin Cook.
Okay, go ahead and spit a little knowledge as to why.
I mean, I love everything what they want to do over there. Their offensive is perfectly conducive to what Dalvin Cook's skill set is. It's just perfect for that offense. He is the guy. There's no one else getting a timeshare out of that bunch. You've got Justin Jefferson emerging as a great receiver. It's going to stretch the field vertically. It's going to open up some of that underneath passing. I fully expect Dalvin Cook to be his pass receptions to go up by at least 5 to 10 receptions this year at least.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, especially if you get You get Alexander Madison cuffed to him. You know,
Yeah.
you're in
And
good
you
shape.
also look at consistency with Cook. Look what he's done his rookie year up until he got hurt. He was top 5 in the league. Then he came back from injury. He had a little, down year, second year with all the hamstring issues, which is normal from recovering from an ACL tear. Look what he's done the last 2 years. There is almost no other running back in the National Football League when they're on the field that is as consistent as Dalvin Cook. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Dalvin
Yep.
Cook. That's it.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just posting this IG video before I lose it. Okay. I'm up. I feel like I want to go Taylor, but I think I'm going to go Barkley here. And I know some people are worried about his injury. I think he's a special breed. I think I'm going to talk about this with Dr. Jesse Morse after you jump off at in about 25 minutes. He comes on. We're going to talk about Barkley. We're going to talk about Nick Chubb. We're going to talk about Derrick Henry, some potential injury risk players heading into 2021. What do you think about Barkley here? And do you feel like there's a couple other players you actually would take ahead of him coming off the ACL injury?
Nope. I like Barkley at this situation. He is a freak of nature. But also keep in mind, he tore his ACL in the first week of the season last year or the second week of the season?
Yeah,
So
he
at the end
waited
of the
a
day,
little bit,
the way
but yeah.
looking at it is he's had an entire year to recover from this. Whenever you are built the way he is, works the way he is, as talented as he is, he'll be just fine. As long as he's, like you said, with the Dalvin Cook issue with their hamstring, as long as he can get his hamstrings right, he should be fine coming into next year. And I really like what Jason Garrett's going to do with them. I like it.
Who's your 5?
I would go Jonathan Taylor. Or I go Jonathan Taylor right here.
Okay, Jonathan Taylor. I agree. I contemplated him here. I think these are kind of interchangeable. We saw him falter last year, and so that gives me a little bit of pause to put him in the top 5. Doesn't mean I'm disrespecting him. Doesn't mean I don't like him in the top 10. Doesn't mean I don't think he's a top 5 capable running back. But just watching him struggle a little bit, COVID definitely hampered a lot of rookies in pass protection and getting involved in the team's PPR game. So I don't hold too much against him. And he was one of my best buy low candidates all year up into till the point where he blew up, and then you couldn't buy him low for anything. But I really, really liked him in that doubted range when people were like, I'm done with him. He was fantastic to go trade for. Man, at this point, I know a lot of people are going to say Derrick Henry, but I'm staying away from Henry. And if you disagree, I'd love to see where you take him and why you like him. And, I don't disagree that he has the talent. It's just a matter of that 2,000-yard season and the carry totals adding up and the drop-off that's inevitable. But will it be this year? Will it be next year? I think if it's redraft, I feel Adams is the guy here. And I think that the volume's going to be there. We know what we're getting with Adams. If he's healthy, he's going to be league leading type production, out the gate all season long, and the most capable to have the most touchdowns in the NFL, in my opinion. I like Jefferson a lot, but it's more of a sneaky top 1 to 5. Like, if you're mock drafting, I want to make sure we don't stray people away and put someone that doesn't belong in the top 10. Like, I'll speak to Jefferson when I get to him and say that Jefferson can be as good, but I'm taking Adams there.
Right. No, I agree with that. What you're talking about with Derrick Henry, I'm like with all my professional businesses and everything I do, I am a numbers analytics. That's how I make a living, through statistical data and stuff like that when I put my deals together. And especially a lot of that comes in handy with fantasy football. I'm telling you, the whole 2,000-yard season thing, that's a real number. If you look at every single person that's ever had a 2,000-yard season, I don't think there's been, one person that's finished over 1,000 yards after that?
Well,
everybody tanks.
Yeah, so a couple have done.
You always talk about, look at QB regression, Mahomes coming back the next year. That's a statistical, not certainty or fact, but you have to heavily look into that. Like there's not anomalies that happen every now and again. Whenever you see, I'm not going to say finite facts, but whenever you have statistics that trend that way so positively, just avoid it. You don't need to go there.
Yeah, it's like if here's 2,000 yards. Well, let me draw a better line. It's like I want to say it's like 2,000 yards. Every running back that ran for it, there were a couple 500 and 800 yard outings. Terrell Davis fell off the face of the earth. Barry Sanders was the only one that I think it was like 1,600 that he dropped, but that was so long ago, and that was Barry Sanders. It's hard to factor that one in. There were a couple that were like 1,000 or like 1,200 or whatever, but it was nearly everybody was at least severed in half. And some people might say like, okay, we'll give Henry half of the production that he had last year. He's still going to be arguably near, round two value or something. But my point being that, yeah, that's why he's falling. I'm dropping Henry into a safe zone that will make it so that it's probably impossible for me to own him in 2021, and I'm fine with that because I don't see at his size, his frame, not getting half of his work in the PPR game like a Kamara or a Christian McCaffrey. It's all up the gut. He's a big dude. He's bigger than anybody that's ever really dominated the running back position before. And while some people might look at that as a positive, I don't see how the human body can hold up better in his frame with, the amount of hits he takes in the lower region, because who wants to tackle this man from the waist up? It puts him in a bad spot to repeat, and a bad spot to even come close. And that 2,000 yard curse is real. Like, so you run for 2,000 yards and you don't ever, really recover. Some running backs have dropped off, and then a couple of them came back the next year, but we're talking about a long time ago. I think you mix that in with the 303 carry season in 2019 and 400 plus if you include the playoffs in 2020. I can't write today. 2020. And then in college football, he had the fifth biggest ever highest carry total season in college football history. The mileage is real. There's a lot. This alone, just the carries that he had, has had in his, not short career. He's been in the league a while. And the carries alone mixed with the 2,000 yard curse, just like you said, at 5, 4, 6 is too risky, especially in PPR.
All right, so most people are probably going to go Derrick Henry right here, and I wouldn't fault them. But if I were drafting, I would go Nick Chubb right here.
And if you guys are curious to know what Dr. Jesse Morse thinks of Nick Chubb's injuries and potential to get hurt, definitely watch the third hour of the show, because he's going to come on and we're going to talk about that. 8. It's going to be weird where we plot Henry, though, because we're just going to keep avoiding him, and then we're going to, at some point, we're going to look ridiculous.
Well, you're going to have value. You have to now.
Yeah.
I'll let you make your pick, then I'll tell you what I would do at the 8 right here.
Yeah. Man, this is a tough one. You have Elliott, you have Henry, you have Aaron Jones, you have Hill, you have Diggs, you have Ridley, you have Kelsey. Some people would consider here. Some people let him go pretty far. I kind of feel like, I don't know why I want to trust Elliott in this range. I'm worried as hell about him, but for some reason I keep coming back to drafting him, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's a dangerous territory, but it also is a decent place. Like, is it crazy to put Diggs here?
I would call that kind of crazy.
I think that he's deserving to be talked about where Adams is.
He is, but you also have to look at roster construction.
Yeah.
If I take Diggs right here, you're taking what, the 5th player, and you got the 105.
What do you think in the chat, guys?
What?
What do you guys think in the chat? I'd be interested to know. I mean, we could put. I feel like if I take Henry here, I'm going against everything I'm saying in it. That's why I continue to pick my boy Jacobs. No thanks. I'm gonna go Hill. I think Hill is pretty safe. Okay. Who do you got?
Derrick Henry.
Okay, Henry. And remember, this is PPR, people. This is PPR 10.
I will say, what is everything we did just completely knocking it, it's great value. All right, so
Okay.
you're looking right around range, first round. Oh, probably Aaron Jones.
Yeah, he's a tough one to rank. I like him here. Now that he's back in Green Bay, I didn't like him if he was going to go elsewhere. Aaron Jones is pretty solid there. I don't think Diggs is. I don't think Diggs Ridley. Yeah, I mean, I could go.
I think Diggs is probably your next receiver off the board, or that's the way you're going to lean on that.
Yeah,
You
I
can
like
back him up with either Akers or
Diggs.
Kelsey if you're going to go zero RB, which I wouldn't do.
Diggs could get overdrafted. Some people are saying that in the chat, but I think that he could get even better. You know, it would be shocking if Diggs was the number one wide receiver in fantasy football in 2021. So I don't think this is that high. I think this could be low. This could be a little high, but I don't think it's that high. This could be a steal. Or you know, there's the reason he's falling there is there's some bust. I feel this is high myself, but I understand it. Like if he stays healthy, he's great. But he does share carries. He does have injury concerns.
But if you back him up with Kareem Hunt in the 7th round, you should be fine.
Kareem Hunt's going around 5.
What?
Yeah, he went around 4 last year.
And I never understood that either.
Yeah, but so he's fallen a little bit because when he did get the starting job by himself, he didn't quite live up to expectations, which I don't think would happen again this year. I think it was a weird set of circumstances, carries, different game flow. There's a lot of reasons why I think, you know, Hunt struggled a little bit. So I took Diggs, so number 13. Okay, go ahead.
In this situation, if you have Diggs, I'm probably going Cam Akers, just so you've got a good running back, wide receiver as far as because I'm also thinking about roster construction while we're doing this too, not just like people in order specifically.
I definitely am not a Cam Akers guy, so I'm fine with you taking him there. I'm going Ridley.
So I think that's perfect. You give me Aaron Jones and Calvin Ridley, that's beautiful. Now with Zeke right here, ooh, man, as much as I want to go Travis Kelce, I'd probably go DK Metcalf. I'm always hesitant. The way my draft strategy is, unless it's a total season long points, I always wait on tight ends. But Kelsey's right there. I mean, you can't go wrong with that either.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's arguable in the first round. I like to wait for him in the second, so I do actually like him a lot better here.
So I'm pairing up my next pick is with Hill.
And you don't have to worry. I mean, I like that you're doing that, but we don't have to worry too much about that. You know, don't let it influence you too much.
Man, honestly, y'all might think I'm crazy, but James Robinson.
I don't think you're crazy. AJ Brown.
Honest. Yep. All right, so now we're at Devontae Adams. Man, just kind of looking what's available. I'm a big J.K. Dobbins guy. I really like Dobbins this year. What he did down the stretch, being the guy, they got rid of Mark Ingram. I don't think he's going to be in a complete timeshare with Gus Edwards. I like J.K. Dobbins. And Jefferson, had those picked. I would have taken Jefferson had we not kind of worried about roster construction.
I'm not really looking at it too much, but who you got now? Guys still on the board. Hopkins is still there, which is crazy.
Yeah, Hopkins is my next pick.
That's a steal. But it's not crazy that he felt like, I mean, all these options right here are as good. Like, I personally might take him over J-Rob, Hopkins over J-Rob, but like I could make arguments, and I love J-Rob. You know, I just went on a rant how much I love J-Rob, but I try and get away with him a little later. But every single one of these players, maybe Hopkins over JK. I still love JK. I still love J-Rob. But okay, so 22, 23, and 24. So we got to squeeze it all in here. I should have wrote it differently. Who am I up?
Yeah, you're up.
Okay, so left we've got Michael Thomas. We've got CeeDee Lamb. I want CeeDee Lamb to go a little later, so I'm not going to mock him in the second round. I don't want to influence people into ruining his ADP, so I'm going to leave him out. We got Waller. We've got Eckler. We've got Gibson. We have... I'm going to go Gibson. Going Gibson.
All right, I'm going to go Keenan Allen.
Allen, I've seen him go this high, and I've seen him go in like the third. He's a tough guy to slot. Okay, so Eckler, Mike Thomas. I like Mike Thomas right in the third round. It makes me feel a whole lot better about investing him. I like Waller. I feel like it's got to be Waller, Mike Thomas, or even Mahomes or Eckler. What do you guys think in the chat?
I would probably go Eckler.
I think I'm going to put Eckler here.
I wouldn't take Waller. I mean, and again, just as far as draft strategy goes, I'm not a big tight end early guy. As much as I love George Kittle, man can't stay healthy. He's not going to be on the field. After Kelsey, I wouldn't even think about a tight end until around 7 or 8. That's just my personal opinion.
Ian says wide receivers are deep. Take running backs. I don't know that I agree on that entirely, Ian, because it matters what you feel about the running backs later. Like if you like a couple running backs in the third round way more than you like the risk involved in taking and forcing yourself to go running back, like you're essentially saying take a position. You're not telling me you're taking a player. You're telling me to take a position. And I don't agree that everybody just in a position is worthy of being drafted because they're in a certain position. I take guys based on the ability they can be a top 5 level at their position. A.J. Brown could be top 5. Kelsey's top 1 to 2. DK could be top 5. Ridley could be top 5. Jefferson could be top 5. Hopkins could be top 5. So I personally love wide receivers in round 2. And there's only a couple running backs I think are even worthy of round 2 value, and I don't even like the Akers pick myself. No offense, I don't trust the Rams. It's not necessarily about his talent, but J-Rob's so deserving of round 2. J.K., I like him there. I do like wide receivers in this range a little bit more than him. I feel like J.K. still has some risk attached to his name. How much will they use him? We don't really know. We feel like we know. We feel like what should happen, but will it happen? Will they give Gus too much work? I don't know.
And another thing, too, what you was talking about with third round, you want to get your running backs earlier based on kind of a lot of people taking that one-on-one approach round 1, 2. So listen to these names in the third round you could probably get. All right, Miles Sanders, not a huge fan. All right, but you got Joe Mixon. All right, possibly Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, David Montgomery. Those are a lot of guys in the third round that have a lot of value. So I would rather go up and get an elite receiver versus, dropping back and trying to get that third round wide receiver.
Also, let's say we go let me do a team here. So let's say you take Diggs. Can't even read that. I'm erasing this. I don't want to erase it because then we can't reference it. Okay, so let's say you take Diggs and AJ Brown, or no, let's say DK because DK was higher. Let's say DK and Diggs. If you take DK and Diggs, you can end up with a Clyde Edwards-Helaire and a Najee Harris. Like that's a really good running back duo to get
absolutely
post round one and two. Mix it or Gibson sometimes can fall. So like let's say you have the most ideal spot to do the double wide receiver is after you've already got Christian McCaffrey. So if you land that 1.1, you can take CMC, and you might get away with Jefferson. Like in our example, Hopkins almost fell. You might get away with Justin Jefferson,
Michael Thomas, and
you could do something like
or Mike Evans and Michael Thomas with Chris McCaffrey. That's crazy good.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Everybody's got their own style. I know a lot of people think wide receivers flew off the board, but we're also drafting. We're almost like a ranking, Ian. It's almost like I get your mocks are going to look different, but it's because you're mocking with 12 different people. This is going with one person's thinking and one person's thinking, going through the whole all 12. It's not going to look like a regular mock draft. And
Absolutely. Especially like what I like with Smitty and I is when we do a lot of mocks, we're both very strongly opinionated people. And so we're not afraid to branch out and get our guy whenever we are doing mocks, which we go against a lot of the ADPs and the trends and everything. So our mocks are going to look a lot different than what your standard mocks are going to look like.
Yeah. And there's 100 ways to win. You could, like, let's say, and it depends on your draft slot too. Like in these places, I didn't love going to running back necessarily, but let's say I do get J-Rob. If I was to go Barkley and J-Rob, I can't do that from every draft slot that we have. So like had I been in a certain draft slot, you would have probably seen me go running back, or at least running back wide receiver. So it depends on where I'm drafting. And I'm not necessarily considering roster construction like Grant was, and that would potentially alter if I'm trying to pair different things. I was ranking them how I see them finishing. But in this case, like I saw the comment of Evans. Evans would be a great wide receiver to throw in that, but you won't always get Barkley and J-Rob. And if you don't get Barkley, like let's say you're sitting here and now you're looking at Chubb, who I don't love, and let's say Chubb and I don't know, who would you force at running back? I saw some people say Mixon or whoever in round 2. If you took Chubb in round 1 and you force a Mixon in round 2, which I saw a couple people say, then you got Evans. I don't look at this team right here, Evans, Mixon, and Chubb, as more dangerous than the DK, Diggs, Clyde, or Najee Harris at all.
Right.
So it just depends on where you're picking. Like, am I going to draft wide receiver every single time? No. But there are times where I'll draft 3 straight wide receivers. I don't care. I'll draft the best player available and build from there.
Absolutely.
All right, big man. I'm gonna let you off, and then I gotta send a link over to the good doctor who's jumping on next.
Sounds good. And I just got some of my man cave finished up for some cool stuff next week. So I'll be filming in the man cave back again.
Sounds good, man.
All right, dude. We'll see y'all next week.
All right, later. That is Grant. The man, the myth, the legend. Now we're jumping over to Dr. Jesse Morse, who wants me to email him the link. So give me 1 second. I will pull this up. He's going to come in and we're going to talk a lot about Chubb, Henry. We'll bring a lot of that up. Let me send this to him now. All right, let's get the good doctor in here. And we will get to... Thanks, Ian. And it's not going to... Everybody's going to have different opinions on this stuff. But the most important thing is when I'm doing one of these, Ian, make sure you realize that I'm telling you where I think guys are going to finish. I'm not... Like, Grant, it was good that Grant was cognizant of team roster build. But when I do something like that, I'm just going to tell you who the best player available is. I'm not going to look at... I'm looking at more like a ranking because I want you to know how I feel about the player. I don't want you seeing me draft Mixon higher than he should be drafted because you need a running back. That's not my style. That's not how I roll. That's not how I do things. That's not how Dad did it. Now we're on injuries. So I'm going to change this up here. And we'll get Dr. Jesse Morse in here to talk about Nick Chubb, about Derrick Henry, about you guys have some injury related players to toss out to Dr. Jesse Morse. Definitely toss those out. Also, he has an app that I will be throwing a image on screen here, so you can download his app. And we'll get him in here. Guys, have any injury questions? Any players you feel like would be good topics for this segment? Toss those in the chat, and we will ask Dr. Jesse Morse what he thinks about those players. So definitely drop that in the chat. His app you can find TFD. All right. What questions you got for Dr. Jesse Morse? He's coming in right now. Hit the thumbs up on your way in the door. Help the show out. Joe Burrow. Okay, so I'm going to write these names down. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. Henry. Nick Chubb. Maybe Dak Prescott. Dak. Who else you guys got? Media, I'll try and add you at the end of the show. We're going to go through this injury stuff with Dr. Jesse Morse. Then I'll look to add you. Dak Prescott is a good addition. Definitely think that's a good one. We'll ask him about that for sure. Chubb is the main guy I wanted to talk about. In fact, I got to grab this injury graphic of Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb college injury and toss that on the screen, because that is the one thing that I wanted to get him on here for. This injury is gruesome. It's gruesome. It is bad. And I'll put it on screen before he comes in. And I actually told him to look this up, or actually send it to him. And he had not seen, no, I told him to look it up. He had not seen it before. And when he looked it up, he's like, I don't know how Nick Chubb is even playing football. Like, that is a crazy injury. He tore and we'll let Dr. Jesse Morse speak to it, but he tore basically everything in his knee but his ACL. Tore his PCL, tore his LCL, his MCL, obviously damaged some meniscus in that. But that injury, it's amazing that Nick Chubb is able to play football. And you could say, oh, he's fine. But we're going to talk to Jesse Morse about that. The good doctor, and let him tell you for himself what this could do. Does this create a Todd Gurley rapid decline, given the amount of work that this guy's had, given that he already had another knee injury last year? This is a gruesome injury that's going to lead to degenerative or fast breakdown of the knee. Kenny Powers says, OJ Howard. We're not going to waste the good doctor's time with OJ Howard. We have a limited amount of names we can throw out, Kenny Powers, and you give us OJ Howard?
Take a lap. Take a lap.
Does anybody in here want to hear about OJ Howard? I didn't think so. Kenny, you're my boy Blue. I appreciate you. But that's a negative. Dr. Jesse Morse, what's up, man? You're live on the Fantasy Football Show.
What's going on?
I appreciate you joining.
No problem. My pleasure.
And I've got this little image up here because this is the first player I would like to talk about. First of all, I want to tell everybody to go check out your app in the App Store. It's called the Fantasy Doctors TFD. And you want to explain real quickly what your app does so that the people know what they're getting into and what they're getting from this product.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so I just launched this last week. Just available on Android actually as of this morning or this afternoon. So essentially what it is all sports all the time. You can separate individual feeds by sport, and within that you can look at the team reporters, the injuries. You can look at the main reporters like your Schefters and that type of stuff. Or you can even look at the fantasy guys and say, oh, I just want to read fantasy stuff. I don't want to hear about the beat reporters. I don't want to hear about the Wojs and the Schefters and that. We have football, we have basketball, we have hockey and baseball, traditional American sports.
And it's Twitter, for the most part, Twitter feeds, right?
Correct, yeah. The issue with a lot of the Instagram stuff is that it's pictures and there's not a whole lot of analysis, so to speak. There is some pulling in from YouTube. There's some videos in there, some injury content on there. We have an injury report on there. You can click on and sift through the sport and then through the team and through the player. I'm working on betting stuff right now that should be launching. Ideally, in the future, I'll get sports scores to be available on there, which I think will be pretty cool.
Cool, man. Well, guys, go check it out. It's free, right?
Yeah,
it's free. Go try it. It's free. The Fantasy Doctors already positive full-star reviews in the App Store. Go check this out. Download it. And you're going to get your man Smitty in there, right? Like, they're going to see so you're going to get everything filtered from Twitter feeds the way you want it, isolated down so you don't have all the noise. Good. I like it. So we're talking about injuries right now. And you and I talked about this in Clubhouse when we first started talking. And you look this up because it wasn't something you had even seen. When you first saw this injury of Nick Chubb, like what went through your mind, and explain to people what likely happened to Nick Chubb here and how it could affect him moving forward in the NFL, even though he's already playing.
So when you see that level of injury, oh God, that's ugly. The first thing you think of is that pretty much has to be a knee dislocation. By definition of a dislocation, let me get my knee model, you have to tear at least 3 of the 4 main ligaments. You have ACL, PCL, which crisscrosses. You have MCL on the inside, LCL on the outside. So you have to tear technically 3 of them in order to have the ball pop out of the socket, so to speak. When I saw that, I'm like, there's really not many ways the knee can go backwards to that extent. So I'm like, best case scenario, he tore the other 3 ligaments and not his ACL. If you're playing odds, ACL is going to be very high. The way his knee fluctuated and went bent so far back, his PCL pretty much had to be damaged in some capacity because that's the only way you're going to be able to stretch it to get it like that. The MCL is what we usually see when we injure the inside and the guy is tackling them on the outside, and then the inside of the knee buckles. So when you see the guy hitting him from the inside to the outside, but not directly hitting his knee, you're actually thinking more LCL because of the pressure that's pushing his knee, and then the knee's going to buckle. Hopefully he wouldn't have had a fracture, and hopefully he did not have much meniscal damage, just the blue cushion in between.
You think he would, right? You think he would, right? Because if those are like the paddings in between, I mean, he's pinching, no question about it, in that front area.
I mean, and you're twisting, and this is twisting is all meniscus. So that's what allows us to twist and pivot and get out of your car, that type of stuff. So there's not many things worse looking than that photo without like watching UFC stuff, like crazy, car accident. Like that's a bad visualization. As I said, that he could have potentially suffered the worst case, but best case scenario. That's what he did. He suffered the other 3 ligaments and not the ACL. ACL would have been potentially career threatening. If you preserve the ACL, there's a good chance you might not even need surgery depending on how bad the tears were. And you could see that he's had a very, very, very good career so far.
What kind of long-term effects do you anticipate with Chubb? So if you're in Dynasty and you're looking at a running back that doesn't have this risk, you're looking at a wide receiver, maybe instead of a running back, you're comfortable going cross position to a new young up and coming Justin Jefferson or whatever, and you got people saying, no, Nick Chubb's the guy. Nick Chubb's going to be fine. He's, there's no issues with his knee currently. The injury he had last year was the other knee. But how much of that is related, and what kind of, are we looking at like a Todd Gurley sharp decline type of thing with this guy because of the damage that likely that had to have been done with his knee, or what do you think when you break this down?
So realistically, because he didn't tear his ACL and it doesn't sound like he had a lot of meniscal damage, this could have been really bad, but I'm not super concerned about his knee. And that's why he's really been able to do what he can do, because the LCL and the MCL for the most part do really good. They, unless you full thickness tear them, even then you can repair them. James Conner's had, I think, each MCL done twice, or at least one surgically repaired. The PCL usually doesn't get surgery. They get a little loose. Kareem Hunt actually had one a couple of years ago, and he did fine. It's the ACL that kind of is the deciding factor, and then the amount of meniscal damage, and depending on how much they would have pulled out. The fact that sounds like he didn't have much meniscal damage and the ACL was spared gives me significant relief, and I'm not overly concerned about his knee compared to Gurley or something like that. Gurley had a bad ACL tear and a lot of meniscus removed. So when you add those two together, that's where the arthritis starts to build up, which then begins the decline.
So do you not hold this against him at all in dynasty rankings, or like what's your thought process?
No, I mean, in my head, running backs have a shelf life that's much shorter than any other position, right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. He will defy the odds because he is a high-level draft pick. He has preserved ACL, and he's had reduced wear and tear on his tires because he's always been a committee. He was with Sony Michel, and now he's with Kareem Hunt. So he's never been bell cow like Le'Veon Bell was back in the day, or whatnot. So I personally believe 90% of these guys have only so much wear and tear they can tolerate it, like tire tread.
Anyway, you think he could probably get to that end naturally, and
yeah, I think he's got a couple more years.
Okay, good to know for people that are concerned about it. I certainly am. All the knee issues I have and had, this scares me. This makes me think that there's a reason why. Do you contribute the knee injury for 20? Because I know you did a video on this, and I felt like the video was a little more concerning than what you're saying here. I forget what you had said on the video, but it was something to the degree of that other knee injury last year worrying you a little bit more.
So the problem with MCL sprains is that if you're going to have an injury to the knee, that's usually what causes it, especially in football, given the nature of how people tackle. Usually you tackle the outside of the knee because the inside of the knee is protected by the other knee. And that's what he injured. He had a pretty significant grade 2, which is essentially partially torn, but not completely torn. Grade 1s usually do fine, couple weeks. Grade 2s usually take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, and he took a little over 6 weeks. Grade 3s usually are season ending and require surgery.
Okay.
So he does have some wear and tear. There's no question. He has injuries to both knees. So compared to someone who hasn't had any injuries to either knee, then he has more concern than any of those guys. But in general, he's not like a Gurley level concern. I'd probably give him a 5 out of 10.
Okay,
You know,
would you
10
move?
is really bad.
Would you ever draft him in the first round in a dynasty league or in redraft? Like, where do you slot him based on all this? Like, does it move other guys like wide receivers like Ridley and DK over him, or are you still like most people where you're taking him at number 8, number 9?
I probably wouldn't take him that early because you got to think, how many more realistic years does he have at RB1 status? 3, maybe, if you're lucky.
If he was really lucky,
Right? So that's like best case scenario 3. Ridley could easily have 5 more wide receiver 1 seasons. Right? Jefferson, maybe more than that. He's still fresh. You know, rookies, you probably don't need to have to spend that cost for running back. And if you hit the right one, maybe you get 5 or 6 years. You're paying for you're paying for the 2-3 years, past 2-3 years, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying for future costs. That's the issue there.
Next up, Barkley. What are you hearing about his recovery? He looks good. You know, we only see limited video footage of him, but I like I always tell people, and I'm no expert like you, but I have had a ton of knee issues and injuries, and explain that story to you on Clubhouse about Garrison Hurst and the thigh strength that he had, and so knowing how strong this guy's legs are, he probably is gonna have a better recovery track than most people because that knee joint's tight like already out the gate. I think he's going to probably have one of those like AP type, not that he's going to rush for 2,000 yards, but he's going to come back and it's going to be like, man, I don't really see a difference. This guy's just built different. And it comes from that thigh strength and the surrounding, knee muscle. Like it's almost like Garrison Hurst. He had that wrap, like it was almost like a knee wrapped in muscle. Like I have no muscle anywhere near my knee. What do you think about Barkley? And are you concerned at all? Do you think he's top 5 material in redraft? Like he's kind of going around that range right now?
Playing the odds, if anybody could do it, it'd be him. But I still think it's too risky. If I'm spending a top 5 capital, I don't want someone coming off of an ACL tear. It's more of a mental thing than a physical thing at that point. At 1 year, that's when, remember Dalvin Cook, he had a very good year after his ACL, but the second year out was when he went ham. Adrian Peterson is the exception. Everyone wants to make him the rule. Barkley could be the next exception, but that's a tall task.
Yeah.
You're asking a lot of it. You basically want him to be perfect if you're drafting him at 5. He has 0 wiggle room for failure.
Yeah. I mean, he might be climbing into a high risk, high reward area. I can agree with that. Like, I think you're still getting a high reward, but you are getting a higher risk. It's not medium risk by any means. Everything you hear, is he on track though? Everything looks good.
Yeah, he looks great. You're only going to see he doesn't train down here in Miami, so I don't have any direct contact with him or any of his crew. But everything that I've seen on Instagram or on wherever looks like he's on track. We won't really hear anything probably until July or August when we actually see him live. And I expect him to be really good. He is a genetic freak in every sense of the term. Unfortunately, the nature of his injury was significant, but if anybody can come back and do what Adrian Peterson did, meaning come back in basically 6+ months and almost break a ridiculous record, it's probably Saquon.
Yeah. I have your Twitter handle right, correct, on screen? Can you see that?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Next up, Derrick Henry. The reason I bring him up, not because he has a current injury, but talking about wear and tear, talking about the 2,000-yard curse. Very few running backs run for 2,000 yards. There's only been 7 others. But of those running backs, only Barry Sanders came even close to repeating. And pretty much everybody else is either cut in half or worse production-wise. What does that 2,000-yard season do to the body? And should we be not only considering that 2,000-yard number as a reason to be worried about Henry at like 6 to 5 to 7 overall value, but the fact that he's had 303 carries in 2019, almost 400 plus, including the playoffs in 2020, big college carry season that ranks in the top 5 all time. and been in the league a while. And bigger dude, bigger frame, hitting the ground over and over and taking hits lower body probably more than most running backs, because who's tackling this dude from the waist up?
So the only thing that all of those are negatives against him, right? I think that's pretty straightforward. Add in his absolutely ridiculous high school numbers. I mean, if you want to see ridiculous high school numbers, look at Derrick Henry's from Yulee up near Jacksonville. They were ridiculous. Ridiculous would probably be an understatement. The crazy thing about his career, he has had very little injury, like very little. So the fact that he hasn't had any significant knee injuries, he really hasn't had any ankle injuries, anything like that, gives me eventually he's going to break down. Eventually he's going to start to decline. The question becomes when, and that's always the hardest question to predict. Is it this year? Is it next year? Maybe it's 2 more years. The other part of it is, as much as we'd love him to catch more passes, I think last year was probably the best we're going to do, even though he's scary to think of in open field. So in a redraft, I think I'd still be okay at that 6, 7, 8, depending on his PPR or whatnot. But in dynasties, probably not sniffing the first round or maybe even the second round for me, because you're really paying for the past couple of seasons. And I mean, how many more does he have at that level where he has to churn out that amount of volume in order to be that ridiculous?
Yeah, and like when Eddie George fell off, bigger running back, it was kind of the, I think eventually it's going to be that way, where it's like you see this big dude out there not moving as quick as he used to, not being able to hit the hole as quick. He looks great. I mean, the offseason work, everyone's so pumped up about, wearing chains and doing push-ups and all that. Like that doesn't, your knees are a whole different topic. And Terrell Davis said in an interview once when he was talking about Todd Gurley that he felt Todd Gurley did drop off, and Todd Gurley did. He said he could kind of see it in Todd Gurley when he was running, and he said that Terrell Davis said when he was in a game and he was playing really well in the game, and even after he realized it, he still had a rest of the game he played pretty well, but he said he knew mid-game when he was done, like his knees just he wasn't able to do it, because the wear and tear is real, and the running back position is so different. And so I usually like to be a year early versus a year late, and I do a lot of dynasty content. I do a lot of redraft too, but I speak to a lot of dynasty content here in like April and January through May, because a lot of dynasty drafts take place and redraft leagues don't. So I am speaking a lot about this from a dynasty perspective, but I'd rather be a year early on Henry, on Chubb, than a year late. And so that's kind of how I hit it and how I attack it. But I can understand why anybody would want to bank on Chubb, would want to bank on Henry, and say maybe they have 2 years left. Maybe they do have 1 year left, and there's a certain percentage I feel they do, and that percentage could land. So
I mean, if he falls to you, great. But would I reach from? Probably not. I really liked him this past year, but there's another 300, 400 plus touch season under his belt now. There is a cliff coming. It may not be a steep cliff, but there is a cliff coming. Is it realistic that they're going to give him that much volume again? I wouldn't bet on it, but maybe.
Burrow and Dak, what are you hearing? What do you feel?
Burrow, I'm not super concerned about. Dak's a separate discussion. I think nowadays, with the level of training, with the level of surgical expertise, and the level of physical therapists that we have, I think both will be fine. They need O-line help for Burrow in order to keep him upright. I know they want to add another offensive weapon, but it's hard to throw if you're on the ground, or if he's constantly worried about somebody coming, and maybe I can't move like I did last year before my knee injury, or he's thinking about his knee and not thinking about where the pass rush is, or where the player he's trying to reach is. So I love Burrow's talent. Quarterbacks who sustained ACL injuries don't concern me as much as other positions because they usually don't need to run as much. But there's definitely a confidence factor involved. So it really depends on how his line sets up. If they surround him with a solid offensive line, I'm less concerned. Dak, on the other hand, does have some mobility, and his is directly correlated with his mobility. He had a fracture dislocation of the ankle. Let's see if I have my model here. So
are you just gonna put it on the table and just smash it into pieces? Is that?
So if you saw the crazy UFC fight the other night,
Yeah,
it wasn't that bad. That was a whole nother level of crazy. And I saw the x-rays today and I couldn't believe it still. What did he do? This bone is the outside of your leg. He fractured this, popped this out of the skin, basically disrupted the whole ankle joint, and tore this ligament, which is on the inside of your ankle, which is ridiculously strong. So now you're dealing, and he had surgery on both, two different times. So he's got hardware on this side. This is cleaned up and repaired. So he doesn't just have one side of the ankle, he's got both. But with as much money as they just paid him, you have to feel that they have to be pretty confident in his, even though the way his contract is structured. He's got plenty of time to work through it in the offseason, so I think he'll be okay. I'm not super concerned. When he gets older, he's going to have some arthritis, and that is what it is. But I don't think we really have to worry about that for a couple of years. Fluky injury, unfortunate. I think you'll see a bigger decline in Burrow, whether it's mental or physical, than you will in Dak.
Because of the experience and everything.
Yeah, between experience, just second guessing things. The first year out from ACL is a big mind game. It's all in the head. Do I feel confident? Can I cut? Am I worried about tearing my new ACL? There is about a 22% risk of tearing it again, either one side or the opposite side. So it's real. The numbers are there.
And the cognitive piece, like you actually rewire, like you basically tell yourself, because when I tore my ACL, you literally say, I'm going to cut, and your knee's behind, a millisecond or half a second, whatever, quarter second, depending on how fast you talk to it. But when you have a cadaver, which every athlete pretty much does the cadaver ACL repair, right, these days versus
nowadays they pretty much all go patellar tendon, actually.
Okay, that's
they go this one. And because this one is as close to the ACL as you're going to get in terms of strength and in terms of flexibility and thickness. Hamstring, which some people do, usually is not thick enough. It doesn't have the same response rate, and the data just shows they're not as good. Cadavers are so high risk for re-tear for a professional, it's just not worth it.
Okay, good to know. I know when I had the decision to go with cadaver or patellar tendon, and for those that don't know, your patellar tendon, they basically cut a window out of your patellar tendon, and then you have like a hole there, but then it grows back, kind of like right when you pierce your tongue, in the middle of your tongue can grow back, right? So patellar tendon does eventually grow back and fill that hole in, right?
I wouldn't say it grows back. I would say it's you're missing 30% of your patellar tendon.
It doesn't ever merge back together?
They'll bring it back together, but it's never,
okay,
if it was an inch wide, it's now 3/4 of an inch wide.
Now, when they put that into the knee joint and screw it in and create an ACL with it, doesn't it need to die and turn into a ligament, and doesn't that take more time than the
So no, the way they secure it in, they crisscross it in. They have screws on each side, stabilizing into the bone. And then the process that takes so long is getting that screw to absorb it into the bone and basically prevent it from
slipping out,
tearing, popping out again, so to speak. So straight line running is fine. It's the cutting that puts basically all of the stress on the ACL. So that's why guys can't ramp up too quickly, because you will pull that screw out and you have to
Right.
go back to the OR and repeat the process.
Interesting. And how much does age have a factor? Like if you're under a certain age and you have an ACL reconstruction, you're at a higher percentage of completely being back to normal versus like.
There's several factors. Meniscus actually probably plays the biggest role, believe it or not. The newest data shows that the more damage you do to your meniscus, the harder it is to recover and return to form. If you happen to repair the meniscus, which is becoming more and more common, as opposed to cutting a piece out, they actually sew it together. That has the best data, even though it takes longer to return. It has the best data because you're not removing the cushion, and by removing the cushion, you increase the stress on the new ACL or the ACL in general. So that's why they're like, we can't remove this anymore. We need to keep as much as we can in there because you're adding unnecessary stress to a ligament that's already not really meant to handle that stress.
Right. Good information. Any other players, before you head out, that you've done research on that are good to bring up? Maybe that no one knows about. Some kind of nugget that you found digging into the injury stuff with a certain player that concerns you.
For current players, Golladay not overly concerning. Trying to think. I've switched to the draft, so I'm a little out of touch on the current players. No one comes to mind. I think CMC was just fluky. Unfortunate. You could justify him getting another first 1-1, picking him again, and I have no concerns with it. The high ankles, he presumably rehabbed really well, and I'm not overly worried about that. Mixon, I'm a little bit more concerned about. I don't like high ankles or midfoot sprains, spring sprains if they don't have a screw, and if it's just not mild. So he reportedly didn't have a screw, and his was maybe initially mild, but he came back too quickly and probably made it a little bit more moderate, and that's why he really never came back. As you can see with someone like Hollywood Brown or even Cam Newton, if you put a screw in, you can play and you really don't miss a physical step. The ones who don't repair it, those are the ones that cause issues.
Okay. Any rookies, or you say you're doing NFL draft stuff? Anybody concern you that's
surprisingly? I've done pretty much the top 5 quarterbacks, the top 6 or 7 wide receivers, the top 3 running backs, and then Pitts. There's really no major injuries with any of those guys. It's pretty impressive, actually. The only guy that has concern, and they pretty much voiced that, is Farley, the kid from Virginia Tech. I actually released a video of him this morning. He's had a total of 2 back surgeries and a ACL reconstruction.
Yeah,
probably not what I want in my first round pick.
And maybe he falls. There's been talk about him falling, and he could fall. But yeah, there's been links to the Cardinals. I'm in Arizona. That does seem concerning to me, and there has been a lot of injury talk surrounding him. Trying to think of another. What does was the guy I was just going to ask you about? Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook. He's amazing, and if you cuff him to Madison, you're gold. But there were like 3 or 4 times last year where he looked like he was done for the year. Like you're holding your breath. You're like, holy crap, he's down. Hobbling to the sideline, looks like he's done for the game at least, and then he comes back in. What worries you about Dalvin Cook, and is he? Do you consider these things freak injuries too, or is he a legitimate concern at number 3 overall in 2020?
So I don't get super concerned about Cook because he's smart. He knows when to pull himself off. Some guys push when they shouldn't, or they try to return quicker than they should, Mixon, and they end up doing more damage than good. If you listen to your body, if you listen to the trainers and the docs and say, can I push through this? Is everything okay? Or should I shut it down? For him, the ACL was a separate discussion. That was obviously season ending, and it is what it is. This Nicky Knack stuff, I'm not super concerned about. They are fluky, and unfortunately, the inherent nature of being a running back who is pretty much a bell cow, you're going to get a lot of volume if someone happens to tackle you or land in your foot, or while you're over here, somebody lands on you. Somebody's blocking and just launches another player, and they happen to roll into your ankle. I mean, that's just bad luck. That's just unfortunate. But there's not, you can't even, your play's over here, this player's over here, and he's looking that way, and all of a sudden he gets his knee chopped. Is that his fault? Is that injury prone?
Yeah.
No, I mean, he wasn't even in the play.
He worries me, though, but I still draft him 3. I still love him. I still cuff him to Madison. I still feel really good about that situation. But, it's something that just is concerning. I guess last player, and then we'll let you go. Mike Thomas. What's going on there? Because he had multiple ligament issues that reportedly needed surgery, and I haven't heard that he's had it. And so, is that a good move? What do you?
I have not heard whether or not he's had it. The last time I checked, there was no confirmation. He had a really bad ankle injury. In hindsight, knowing what we know now, I'm surprised he tried to come back at all. His injury should have been season-ending. He tried to come back. He did a little bit, but you could tell he wasn't the same, and they were trying to be smart and save him for the quote-unquote important games. But his injury was bad. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I do remember that I'm like, that's like a 6 to 8 plus week injury, maybe longer. So it's like returning sooner than that, he's not going to be healthy. He's not going to be able to return to the level that you're expecting him to be. And then you're expecting this crazy volume out of him, presumably if you draft him that high, that is very unsustainable. They pretty much have to play catch with him in order to get the volume that you're hoping out of him. But I hope that he took the advice and ended up getting surgery, because if not, then that could lead to more concern down the road. So maybe I may have to do. I start my injury draft guide prep in a couple of weeks, and I'll start ramping up and seeing, since I did my last videos, which guys changed, which injuries do we have updated on, and then from that point, I think we can revisit this topic and say, I'm concerned.
Keep me posted on this one, because everything I've found, and it could be hidden, that he had the surgery, but everything I found, he did not have it, and we're getting closer and closer to the season. It just seems like a disaster. His body clearly, and this is just almost like me being funny about it, but his body clearly didn't handle it the right way. Like I'm going to trust surgery over MT, taking care of this by just sitting out. Cause he tried that, like you said, rush back, and I don't know the severity of it, because, news is not always completely upfront with us these days. The NFL, news that we get is oftentimes, watered down or not completely the truth. So it's hard to even analyze some of this stuff sometimes. But if you find out anything, keep me posted, because MT, I get a lot of questions on it. I don't know how to advise people on it, because in third round value, I like him, and he's falling into the third round. And I feel like that in 1 or 2 leagues of my dozen or 20 that I do, I'm willing to go, all in on MT in the third round range. But second round, no way. You got AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Ridley, Jefferson. Why would you even mess around with it? But let me know if you feel like even third round is going to be risky for MT, because I'm.
And I think the quarterback plays a big role in it. Are we assuming Hill is the guy?
I think it's going to be Winston, from 20 to 20, and then inside the red zone, it'll be Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill came out and said, recently that this is an offseason where he's actually preparing to be the quarterback, not coming in and trying to take over an offense when he doesn't know what's going on. So I think we're going to see a much better Taysom Hill, a much more prepared Taysom Hill. And I do believe we'll see Taysom Hill within the 20s, whereas that's his bread and butter area. He's going to look great, and Winston's going to get taken out when the play needs to be completed, and he's going to have this mediocre, section of of football, and he's going to make the most mistakes inside that, 20 to 20 place. So I think eventually Taysom Hill starts games. I really do believe that. And they're paying him, even though the contract's voidable each year. It's $140 million deal. They clearly,
ridiculous.
yeah, they clearly put the perception with that contract, even though it's voidable each year, that this is the guy that we're putting all the money on. Like, why is everybody so convinced that it's Winston when he got the 1 year deal and Taysom got the potential?
And I think the other question becomes, what are your expectations when you pick him? In terms of Thomas, if you're expecting him to be a 120 target receiver, are you going to be disappointed? I don't know. Like, I think that is important. If you're hoping for 60, 70, 80 catches, that may be realistic. But if you're hoping for 120, that's probably not realistic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that plays a role in it too, because the cost is relative to, what your expectations are for him.
Yeah. So third round, are you okay with that for right now, or?
Yeah, I mean, he should be the wide receiver 1 easily. I mean, I don't think there's much of a question there. He has the pedigree. We know that. The ankle injury is concerning, whatever you want to call it, a Laura Stoney injury, but he definitely has that upside. So I can see him in that 5 to 10 range. But there's several guys that are safer, and I think have maybe higher upside.
And last question, I know I said that was the last one. Do you think the added game is gonna inject a lot more injury into football? I know it's only one game, but a game is gruesome and rough.
I think we'll probably see. I haven't really got into this yet. I'm still in baseball mode. I think we will see probably more guys miss a game. Like, this injury isn't super concerning, but since we have another game, we're going to hold you out of this one. Because now we have one more game that you have to be on the field for.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But overall, I had a couple of NFL guys the past couple of weeks, and it's funny they don't even talk about it. It's not something they just like, whatever.
Yeah, I know Kamara was mad about it. A couple other players, like I think it was Debo Samuel, was like, I don't care. I play football. I don't care. Like those decisions aren't. So, but someone like Kamara, running back, is like, the beating you take. Like when you really think about it, on a 7-year career, that's like almost half of a season, added on your career. So like dynasty, it does actually have a long term.
These guys have ridiculous injuries. We'll say this another time, but if you think what half these guys, you get about 20%. It's ridiculous.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I have several wide receivers and running backs to prove it. Persons that I've personally seen, and it's crazy. It's kind of scary what we hear and how much they actually deal with it. I'm like, how the hell did you play with that?
Yeah.
I just sucked up and played. I'm like, damn, bro.
Yeah. Like, wasn't it Atlantis Gary? Was it Gary who tore his ACL and then played a whole game on it? Like, he went out, he got hurt, and he's like, I'm going to continue to play towards ACL.
Oh, some of these guys can, in perfect situations you can play, certain things it's just not, it's not possible. But some of them like that's an 8-week injury. How did you play the next week?
Yeah.
He's like, I just did. I'm like,
it's crazy.
You freaks. You guys are freaks in a good way.
Yeah. Dr. Jesse Morse, you can find him on Twitter at Dr. Jesse Morse right down there. And then check out his new app, The Fantasy Doctors, in Android and iTunes stores now. So
yep. And also check out I'm trying to build this stupid Instagram page that I can't build for the Fantasy Doctors. It's so hard. So if you check it out, we put everything on there just like Twitter. Twitter's my primary thing, but we're on TikTok, we're on everything. You name it, we're on there somewhere.
It is funny, like if your platform is your platform, and like I find a lot of growth on IG, and Twitter is not necessarily. I do okay on Twitter. I don't play the Twitter game as well. I'm
Yeah,
a video guy.
I stay in my lane, and I'm like, I don't see that. I'm not in that lane.
Yeah, I'm a
You
video
know?
guy.
I go
So
in there every once in a while, but
yeah, IG live streams, that all works well for me, and Twitter is more of like a conversation, and I do better on video. So, but we'll help each other out, guys. Go follow him on IG. You can help me grow on YouTube and Twitter, but also check out his YouTube. Soon. Appreciate you, man.
Take care.
Bye. Good dude, knowledgeable. Broke down a lot of good topics. We've got roughly 15 minutes left. And my takeaways from that, like, I don't know that I've changed my mind on some of the players. I think he gave a lot of good, insight that makes me, maybe give a second look to some of the things that I've been preaching over the last couple months. And, Nick Chubb, I get it. I get that he's not too concerned about the Nick Chubb injury and it affecting his next 1 or 2 years. You could call it gut instinct, and I don't have the science behind it like he does to speak to it from that level. But you could call it a gut instinct. You could call it whatever you want. I'm still staying away from Nick Chubb for a number of reasons. One, I think there's still, and Dr. Jesse Morse, if he was still on, would probably agree that there's still a percentage chance that his knee issues from college could play a bigger role in a quicker decline than we're even thinking right now. I think you'd admit that that's at least possible. So that would be a red flag to worry about. If there are no other red flags whatsoever, I think I would let it die there, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to roll with Nick Chubb for another year, take it year by year. I think what concerns me is that his aggressive style of play, the fact that they work him up the middle, up the gut, it's grunt work. It's the kind of injury, it's the kind of work that gets you injured, the kind of work that adds more wear and tear than the divided up reception rushing type of thing. He's like Henry in that it's up the gut, it's the brutal work, it's all the brutal work, and Kareem Hunt does some of that, but also comes in and plays that PPR game really well. And there's the fact that Kareem Hunt's there. If Kareem Hunt wasn't there, it would be another vote of confidence for me to overlook the one injury red flag. The one injury red flag that you just heard Dr. Jesse Moore say he's not too worried about. The fact that his ACL was intact during the injury. We also don't know how much, like he just said, you hear 20% of it, and he wasn't there, and maybe the injury was way worse than we know. Like, there was cartilage damage to a significant degree, and they just didn't report on it because all we have are the reports that are floating around. It was a long time ago. Social media wasn't, as big. So you may not have Nick Chubb details from his college injury. So it really is kind of hard to speak about it with absolutes of this is what he did. He didn't have meniscus damage. So that concerns me too, that we don't really know. And it's a lot of guesswork, at some point. So mix in the injury factor. Then you got to mix in the fact that Hunt is there, and Hunt outscored Nick Chubb last year in most scoring formats. So Nick Chubb at 8 overall versus Hunt in round 5. I mean, you tell me what you'd rather have. I'd rather go after Kareem Hunt in round 5 than go after Nick Chubb at number 8 overall, but that's me. Then you mix in, again, the aggressive style of play, and all that together with the knee injury from last year, which was a pretty significant knee injury. Dr. Jesse Morse just told you that it was a significant, tear that took about 6 to 8 weeks. It was a 6 to 8 week injury. It's no small matter. All of that to me says, okay, I could be wrong. What's my percentage that Nick Chubb struggles or misses 5 games? If Chubb missing time is, let's just put it at a 40% chance that he misses like 4 games in my arbitrary made up, pulling these numbers out of my rear end, that I feel is an educated guess just based off my gut and everything else that I've encountered in my 19 years in fantasy football professional advice giving. I'd say this feels a 40% chance of, actually, we'll say 60% because it's 40%. He meets the expectation. 60% chance he misses significant time. We'll identify that as a 4 games. I think it feels like that. I feel like it's a 40% chance that he lives up to number 8 overall, like 1.8 value. So 1.8, 40% chance in my mind, and that's again me guesstimating, that he can live up to the 1.8 value. So will I lose sleep at night if he ends up being a top 5 running back, misses 1 game or less, and ends up doing this? No, because I'm telling you, there's a 40, in my mind, a 40% chance that he can be a top 5 to 10 running back and not miss significant time. I'm not wrong. I'm playing the numbers game. When you look at a guy like Ridley, let's say, the odds of Ridley, you can't see that below there, so I'll put it up here. The odds of Ridley playing almost all of 2021, maybe missing just 1 or 2 games, I feel like that's going to be more in the 80% range. And to me, that's why I'm drafting Ridley instead of Nick Chubb if I'm given the opportunity, which a lot of people might not like. Ridley might be too high for some people, even though he was a top 1 to 5 wide receiver for half of a season. So I get the doubt, but this is what Ridley did already. We've seen Ridley produce at top 1 to 5 overall wide receiver value. This just feels like a more locked and loaded percentage. I'm just going to play the numbers game, in my mind at least, and say safer. It's not that I don't think Chubb can do it. It's just safer. It's safer. And yeah, so like Dominic's saying, what about top of the second? Safe zone for Chubb? Yeah, when you have a first round here, so this is round 1, this is the no-go zone for Chubb, but in round 2, Chubb has a bunch more package in risk right here. But to Kenny's point, will Chubb fall to the safe zone? No. Chubb is going right here. So you probably won't own Chubb in 2021. But just like Mike Thomas, here's round 3. Just like Mike Thomas, safe zone's probably right here. He might not fall there. Mike Thomas might fall right here. So you might not own Mike Thomas in 2021 because he won't fall into a safe zone for you. But it's all about odds for me. And I just don't feel comfortable taking Nick Chubb in the first round. Doesn't mean I won't take him in the second round. Doesn't mean I won't feel okay with him as my second drafted player. But to the point here by Kenny, probably not going to fall. And I know that's not going to jive with everybody. There's Nick Chubb dynasty owners out there that are really upset at me right now. How's it going, Nick Chubb dynasty owner? But in that second round, here's round 1. Here's round 2. Here's round 3. In round 1, there are safer guys right here. Maybe Tyreek Hill. Maybe Ridley if you're a little bold and you like Ridley. Maybe Elliott falls in the range. And you could say Elliott's risky too. I could buy into that. But that's this Nick Chubb area where he's going. Safer options in my opinion. Mike Thomas going in this range. I take him here. But in this range, you've got A.J. Brown. You've got Jefferson. Why are you taking Mike Thomas, who has a whole boatload of risk and unknowns, over an A.J. Brown or Jefferson? It's all about draft risk and upside. Me saying I don't like Nick Chubb at his current value, what am I really saying to you? That I like Hill, Ridley, and Elliott better? Is that really that shocking? Are you really that upset that that's how I feel? When I do think it's acceptable in this range here, when it starts thinning out, I still think, A.J. Brown, Jefferson, you can make arguments, have more value than a guy that you feel is risky or that could miss time. But I don't fault anybody, and I'm Smitty approving Nick Chubb in this range right here. I'm just not Smitty approving Nick Chubb in the first round when you can get a Hill, Ridley, or Elliott. And again, Elliott is potentially a guy you could take out of that conversation too, and I would not be upset over that. DK, you could argue DK's 12, 13, 14 overall. Yeah, I'd rather have Gibson, Dominic. I'd rather have Gibson over Nick Chubb. Gibson falls into this range, so this is where Gibson might fall. Gibson might fall into the 2-3 turn range, and Nick Chubb's costing you 1.8. This feels way more secure to me. Call me crazy, I don't care. Way more secure to me. I like Gibson. I like the way they use Gibson. I don't feel like there's any injury risk there. He's not sharing carries with a Kareem Hunt. I just feel like, especially if you consider the value, so why not trade down? Why not trade down? Let me move this. Why not trade down from number 9 overall to the 2-3 turn and take your boy Gibson, or take Rob? Why not take James Robinson right here instead of taking Nick Chubb here? This is the perfect year to trade down. If you don't have a 1 through 3, 1 through 4 pick, and you're looking at Adams, you're looking at Hill, you're looking at Elliott, and I just spoke about Elliott kind of liking him, but Adams, Hill, Elliott, I like Jefferson, Gibson, AJ Brown, J-Rob. I like these guys near as much as guys going in freaking 9, 8, 10, 12 overall. I don't normally like to trade down. This year I love trading down. This year I feel is a great year to trade down. This year I feel that the second round is gold. I think if you've got a first rounder and you've got the ability to trade in your league, that if you take your first rounder and you trade it into the second round, and you already have your second rounder, you already have your third rounder, then you take your fourth rounder or your fifth rounder, let's just say fifth rounder, you take your fifth rounder and we nix that, we take your third rounder and we move that bad boy back into the second. So we lost our fifth. Then you take your 6 and 4 and trade back into the bottom of round 2. It's a thought. It's a way to build. It's especially in Dynasty. What if you get a Gibson, a Jefferson, a AJ Brown, and a, I don't know, Ridley? Not a bad way to build. Kind of an interesting way to build in Dynasty too, especially if you are good at finding those running backs. I'd be interested in something like that. I do things like that. I do trade videos that are like that to show how you do draft pick trading. And maybe you still get another pick in here somewhere. And then my kick the can down the road strategy, where you have your 7, 8, and 9, and you probably only have one more good trade left. Let's say you traded your 7, 8, and 9 and got back into the late third round, or maybe the fourth. We'll say the fourth, and you got yourself another player. Or let's say you landed yourself a Josh Allen or a Herbert, and you kick the can so far down the road. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. So you got a player essentially in round 1. You just moved them down. You got a player here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you are missing a 7, 8, and 9. But you kick that. Sorry, 6, 7, 8, 9. But you kick the problem down the road into the 6th round. And yeah, I've done it before. I've even traded a couple other times to get back into the 7th. But that's my kick the can down the road strategy, because eventually you kick the can down the road far enough, it doesn't matter that you're missing 5, 6 picks. It really doesn't. You can miss picks 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Who gives a crap? If you kick the can down the road far enough and move all your picks into like a small range, who cares? If you can get 5 picks inside the top, top 11 or top 12 to like 27 and you can get 5 picks in there, who cares if you're missing 6, 7, 8, 9? I don't care. I don't care. Let me send you a quick link real quick. Media, we've got 3 minutes. I'm sorry I didn't get you on here. I'm sending it to you right now. You can tell me your quick analysis. You've got 3 minutes, bro. I'm sending it to you right now. And tell me what what the Niners are going to do. So Media is going to dial up real quickly and give us his thoughts on the 49ers. His thoughts on what the Niners are going to do with this pick coming up in the NFL draft, number 3 overall. The pick that sets the tone for everybody else in the entire draft. The pick that means everything. The pick that determines the course of everything that happens after it. Let's go, Media. Jump on. I sent you the link. Dial in. You've got 3 minutes to convince me of anything you want to convince me. But I'm pretty sure we're on the same page in terms of Lance, wanting Trey Lance in a Niners uniform. Not being completely sold on Fields, but liking Fields more than Mac Jones. Not liking Mac Jones as the pick. Media, what is up, my man?
What's going on?
Tell me what you're hearing. Tell me about the Mac Jones video.
Okay, so yeah, the Mac Jones video, I don't know how long ago it was from because it was just posted all over Twitter and stuff today, but I'm sure it was like probably his like freshman or whatever year of college, but basically just the video was him at a huge party and he was doing some really weird stuff, and now I don't even want, like, I would have been okay a little bit with Mac Jones, but after that video, I really hope it's not him, and I don't think it is going to be him anyways.
Did the video in your mind change an opinion if he was being leaned toward?
I just think kind of like throughout the whole process, like even in the pro day, he was just messing around, and I don't think he takes things too seriously. And I feel like the Niners are going to, though, stay away from the Alabama side, especially for the quarterback position, because of in the past with Reuben Foster.
You know who does take things seriously? A guy named Trey Lance, man.
And Justin Fields, yeah.
Do you think that, what do you think? Give me odds. Is it 50-50? Lance, Fields?
I actually right now think that even though I want Lance, obviously, right, I do think it's going to be Fields, just the fact because, like, we've heard, you know, there are always these reports about Lance and Mac Jones, but there's really no reports about the Niners. Like, with Justin Fields, that's what makes me think he will be the pick, because that's exactly what happened last year. We didn't hear anything about Kinlaw or even Ayuk, so I think it will be Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Lance. I think because they want that extra dynamic way of scoring points and moving down the field. But, you know, it wouldn't shock me if, I mean, I've never predicted Shanahan what he's going to do properly. So clearly I don't know what the hell he's thinking. I just think he needs to go in a different direction. And the only one that's a different direction is really Lance. I mean, Fields is a running quarterback as well, or capable, but Lance gives you something that torments the Niner defense, you know, like a running quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he's saying, you know what, we're going to beat these teams on the ground too with our quarterback, and I want that.
But
I see it happen, and I want it.
Okay, I know you constantly say, you know, you don't think Lance is you constantly say it, like you don't think Lance is a project, but if the Niners think that, I think that Fields could be the pick, just because it seems like after even the presser, just Shanahan is just tired of Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think wants to just get out of it and get rid of him whenever he can. That's what I feel like. So that's why, I mean, I feel like I think Fields could possibly be the pick.
Tough to say. Hey, we're out of here. Before we go, I want you to do some kind of crazy dunk, a 10 out of 10 dunk on that hoop behind your like, I want something good, bro. I want like a windmill, 360. Like, give the people what they want. We want a dunk.
Okay.
I hope this is good. Use a sock, whatever you got to do. Okay, something amazing. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. All right, media, Mr. Giggles, we appreciate you.
Yep.
And I'll get you on more next show. Sorry about that.
Yep. No, all good.
Later, big man. That's Mr. Giggles. Kind of an intern, I suppose. I think after that dunk, I gotta hire him on, non-salaried, of course, non-paid internship. That was a phenomenal dunk. I will see you all again this coming Thursday. We're moving the show up to about 7 p.m. Eastern to account for the 8 p.m. draft. So I'll be live a little bit, an hour before the NFL draft, talking, hyping it up, getting ready. And so we'll be getting ready for the NFL draft. So Thursday, every Tuesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, except for this Thursday, we're moving it up to 7 p.m. That was a sick dunk. We're moving up to 7 p.m. Eastern this Thursday. The NFL draft. Get ready. Get ready for the NFL draft. I'm live at 7 p.m. Eastern this coming Thursday. Be there. Don't be late. Tell your friends. Tell your grandma. I appreciate every one of you. I will see you later. Good night.